Welcome, everyone. We're happy to welcome you to our Standards and Assessment Committee meeting for September. I'm Randy Booth. It'll be my opportunity to chair this meeting today. We have board members both here present in the building and online. Vice Chair Emily Green is online. Welcome. Are you there? Can we hear you?
I'm here. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Emily. And we have here in the boardroom Natalie Klein and Jenny Earl. And we are waiting to hear from Sarah Reel. We're not seeing her online yet?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we have staff members and guests that are here today to help us with the work of the committee. And we appreciate everyone's attendance. Know that after a long day yesterday, let's be honest, what days are not long? But we're glad to be here together. We're going to begin, first of all, with some recognitions of folks here in our area of work. We have some folks from community engagement and from dual language immersion. And I'd like to turn the time over to Patty Norman to conduct this part of the meeting.
Thank you. I'm going to start out, first of all, off script, which is it's my favorite days of board meeting when we get to work through standards. It's the most important, one of the most important things that you as a board can do. And I love the conversations and working through all of the standards. So I was so excited to get up today and come. So anyways, I love board days. So then moving on, Susie Estrada, can you turn your camera on? Give everyone a wave. Thank you. So we'll start out with the Utah State Board of Education is committed to the vision of upon completion, all Utah students are prepared to succeed and lead by having the knowledge and skills to learn, engage civically, and lead meaningful lives. To accomplish these goals, staff of the board are engaged in supporting the everyday work to achieve this goal, in assisting the board to create equitable conditions for student success, advocating for necessary resources, developing policy, and providing effective oversight and support. This month, we highlight the work of Susie Estrada because she definitely deserves recognition. And this is Susie on our screen today. So Susie Estrada recently joined USBE and is co-leading efforts to ensure increased engagement of families with young children. Susie jumped in feet first and has been making stakeholder connections with community outreach to further support the work of Strategic Plan Strategy 1D, along with family engagement as part of an early literacy bill, SB 127, that passed in 2022. Susie's knowledge and skills have only added to increased support for our Utah families, and we are grateful to get to work with her. Susie is also leading a number of projects that have supported family and community engagement across the state. These projects include the Partnership for Middle School Success, which is focused on bringing in families and community groups to support students as they transition from elementary through to high school. Another important focus is supporting positive connections with families through home visits using ESSER funds, providing training for educators around this work, and creating a family engagement network group, providing LEA leaders tools to improve their support for families in their LEA. Susie has been supporting adult education, absenteeism prevention, and creating a community of practice for family and community engagement for educators, focused on creating opportunities and removing obstacles for families to be actively involved and welcomed in schools. In addition, Susie takes the lead in Indicator 8, Annual Performance Indicator, which measures the number of parents with a child receiving special education services who report that schools facilitated parent involvement as a means of improving services and results for children with disabilities. The previous year, 1,905 parent surveys were completed, and this past year, 2,074 parent surveys were completed. Susie has gone above and beyond meeting with LEA special education directors to help them improve parent participation in the survey and looking at barriers to parent involvement, barriers to parent involvement in special education as a whole. We are lucky to have Susie Estrada on our team. Thank you, Susie. And we're glad you could be here this month. And then our second, I'm gonna start by letting you know who everyone is, because this is a pretty large group who have done phenomenal work for many, many years. So I'm gonna try my best to say their names. And when I say your name, can you turn on your camera? And that way we'll be able to see everyone that we're recognizing, and then I'll read it. So we're gonna start with, is Robert Austin here? We have Robert Austin, Carl Bowman, who's right over here, Carl, Brenda McMurty, and I'm not sure if she's on or not. Okay, Carolyn Schubach. And then we have Dea Giagie. Thank you. Jane Young, Hada, Liping Zhong, Yunlong Bao, Stacy Lyon, Lois Simpson, Irene Stone, Emmanuel Collins Raynaud, Georgia Gearlings, Michaela Klosnitz, Shauna Weiniger, Sylvia Uos, Raquel Scariot, Natalia Howard, Raul Martin, Diego Benitez, Maria Teresa Gallo, Ariel Navarez, Leo Valladares, Angelica Garrido, Elizabeth Smeeks, and Ophelia Wade. If you look at this amazing team, and keep your cameras on, because I'm gonna read some of the progress and things that have happened over the years, and then we're gonna put up an infographic. So the dual language immersion program in Utah is growing every year. This coming year, we will have a total of 341 programs across the state, teaching in 7 languages. And if I read out your language, raise your hand. Chinese, English, French.
There we go.
German,
Shot good.
Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. The total number of K-12 DLI students is 54,607. So I'll read that again. These amazing people, 54,607 students are impacted. As part of the dual language immersion program, each year we conduct the annual Utah Dual Immersion Institute for all first and second year dual language immersion educators and administrators to prepare them to be successful in a dual language immersion school and classroom. During the 2023 annual Utah Dual Immersion Institute, we served 623 educators, providing 32 different courses. These educators were given a total of 16,120 professional learning hours during this experience. We are very happy to be able to provide strong professional learning experience for these educators, preparing them for success. We value the partnership we have with LEAs, where 24 state team members are located in Alpine, Cache, Canyons, Granite, Jordan, Murray, Park City, Tooele, and Washington school districts. They provide the many hours of professional learning that are provided throughout the year for our DLI educators. We also have strong working relationships with our 22 school districts and 8 charter schools as we collaborate with them to make the dual language immersion program a success in the state. And if we can have the infographic put up really quick, and if Carl, if you want to speak to the infographic really quick, and we're going to be putting it up.
So this just shows you the spread of the programs across the languages, and it shows you how many elementary schools we have in the different, how many two-way elementary schools in Spanish for elementary, middle schools, and high schools across the 6 languages. So 341 total programs across the state. If you want to scoot the program forward a little bit, it just shows the graphic of how many hours were spent with the Utah Dual Immersion, the annual Utah Dual Immersion Institute, and the hours that were given for professional learning for these teachers, first and second year teachers. In addition to that, I'll just take just a second to say that this team also provides all through the fall and then winter a full day experience for all the other educators, all the dual immersion educators through the state as well, where they receive a two full days of instruction on the how to be strong dual immersion educators as well. So I just really praise our team. They're so dedicated and grateful that they're a part of our wonderful state team. So congratulations to them. So grateful to work with such great professionals.
And board members, if you haven't had the chance to get out to a dual language immersion classroom, I know that Carl will hook you up so that you can go out and see what it's all about. Every time I go, I'm just constantly amazed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's give him a round.
Can I just make a comment real quick?
Yes.
My son is currently in a Chinese dual immersion program. He's in first grade. So that's at Fiddler's Elementary. And we've just loved it. It's been so exciting. We have another elementary that does a Spanish immersion. And I know that that's just been such a wonderful addition to our community. And anyway, so he comes home and he's counting to 100 and he gives me all of the rules in Chinese. And the other day he woke up and the first thing he said was something in Chinese, and I need to learn Chinese with him. My husband knows it, which is why we're doing this with our son, but we just couldn't be happier with the program. So thank you for all that you do and for providing this opportunity to us. I think it's wonderful.
Raise your hand if you're jealous it wasn't available when you were in elementary school. And another observation I made is that so many of them raised their hand 2 or 3 times. I think there was maybe one that was on everyone. That may not have been the case, but it seemed like it. So thank you for your expertise that you have currently in the languages you do, so you can benefit families and communities. So thank you.
It's thrilling to have a report like this and to be able to recognize the people who are in the saddle, making it happen day in and day out. And we greatly appreciate this enriching and expanding experience for thousands upon thousands of students across the state of Utah. You're making a huge difference, and we're so grateful. When it gets tough, just look at those kids' faces and listen to the words that they're speaking, and think for a moment about how much smaller our world is getting with each hour of instruction with one of these children who is growing up with increased capacity to communicate in a world that is sorely in need of strong communication skills. So we're so grateful and appreciate the opportunity of having the spotlight shine on you folks for just a few minutes this morning. I know you've got plenty of things to do. We're so grateful that you would pause for a minute so we can celebrate together the excellent work that you're doing across the state. Thank you so much. We're very appreciative. Andrea, do we have any public comment?
Any public comment?
Great. We have an information item regarding the advanced placement results. Dr. Thronson, is she here?
Her and Christy Schenker are online, I think, along with our guest, Mikhail Taylor.
Yeah. Great. So, Dr. Thronson, Christy, Mikhail, if you can turn your cameras on, and we'll turn the time to you for this important information item on advanced placement results.
Good morning. Since I'm presenting from afar, just wanted to make sure you can see my screen all right. It says advanced placement.
Yes.
We're seeing it. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, good morning. My name is Christy Schreck, the early college specialist who oversees AP. And I'd like to introduce Michael Taylor. He is the director of the state and district partnership from College Board. Michael, I believe you are on. Yes.
I am. Can you hear me okay? I'm
Yes.
joining from the Utah School Counselors Conference here in Provo. So hope you can hear me fine.
Michael, thank you. I know you're double booked. We appreciate you making time to be able to be with us today. Michael and I will be sharing the AP highlights in Utah for the 2022-23 school year. And this information is from the state and district integrated report that comes out each fall. And that was one of the items that was in backup for you guys. Now, this report paints a more complete picture of what's happening in our state, in our districts, and in our schools as we look at the progress being made in advanced placement. Now, based on this year's integrated report, Utah students participating in AP courses grew significantly in 2023. In fact, over the past 2 years, participation increased as more Utah students returned to advanced learning opportunities. And these participation gains that Utah students made over the last 2 years supersede the gains made in 2019 prior to the pandemic. So we are definitely moving upward. And that is the trend we're seeing in Utah, that we are moving out of that pandemic issue and making those strides and moving forward. And this is a celebration for all of our students, our teachers, our parents, and everyone in the community that this is happening. Okay, Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and in addition to participation, what I think is really exciting, you see here that Utah students in secondary schools took over 45,000 AP exams, which is about 3,500 more than in 2022. But of those exams taken, we actually are seeing 68% of those students actually qualify to earn that college credit, which is with that score of 3 or higher. And while this is only up 0.3% from the previous year, I think the combination of increased participation while still increasing and maintaining those opportunities for college credit is, again, another thing that's definitely worthy of celebration, because sometimes we don't see those two aligning. That sometimes we see when there's more participation that the scores go down a little, but in Utah, we're still seeing students be really successful in the exams, which is a testament to the teachers, the works that schools, communities are doing to actually prepare their students. I think on the next slide, we have a highlight of the top 10 AP exams that are taken in Utah. So as you see here, the exam with the highest rate of passage was English Lit and Composition, with nearly 92% of students passing. And I took a look at the national pass rate, which is at 76%, which is still pretty high, but Utah is actually 15% higher than that. And at the conference I was at today, I spoke to a counselor who was saying her teacher is very passionate about the course and was excited to hear that Utah is doing so well when it comes to, again, preparing students for this course in particular. You can see in second and third places, we have Spanish language and culture, also a part of maybe some of the dual immersion programs that you all were celebrating earlier, which is great, and also world history modern. But you can actually see a full list of all the courses offered and where Utah fell on pages 12 to 15 of that integrated report that all of this comes from. All right, and then on the next slide, we definitely wanted to highlight, again, some of the participation by student groups. So as you can see, the majority of Utah student groups experienced increases, but some of the groups with the largest increases that we saw were in Asian, Hispanic, and white student groups. Among those, we thought it was important to note that AP participation and success significantly increased for Utah's Hispanic Latino students for the past year. The percentage of Hispanic Latino students was increased by 20% over the previous year, which is higher again than the national average of 12%. And while students in Utah make up, this student population group makes up about 20% of Utah public education, they now represent 12.3% of AP exam taker population, which again is an increase and something to celebrate across the board for Utah students.
All right. In this slide, we see the overall AP results in Utah and what's happening nationally. And this information can be found on page 27 of the integrated report. Now, this table shows the number of test takers, the number of exams taken, and the number of tests with a score of 3, 4, or 5. In AP world, we call that a qualifying score. So when you see the words qualifying score, you remember that it means it has a score of a 3 or higher. Now, the Utah scores can be compared to the national scores, but out of all this information, the information we want you to focus on is the number of students receiving a qualifying score. And we will see that information on the next slide. So based on the previous table, here's the comparison of the national percentage of students receiving a qualifying score compared to Utah's percentage. And as you can see nationally, 60.2% of exams taken receive a qualifying score. Again, that's a 3 or higher. In Utah, we see 68% of the exams taken receiving a qualifying score. And again, this is a celebration. We are so excited that this is happening in Utah. We are helping to make a pathway of excellence for our students and everyone involved, our teachers, our parents, our students, our counselors, administration. We just want to applaud them and just say, way to go. This is impressive and definitely worth the celebration.
And last but not least, this is just kind of new research that's come out from the College Board recently. So I know we were focusing in a lot on those qualifying scores, but we're finding that AP students, whether they get a score of 3 or higher or a score of 1 or 2, are more likely to enroll in four-year college compared to academically similar students who did not take AP in high school. So while we definitely want to celebrate those student opportunities to get college credit, I think the increased participation that we're seeing as well hopefully means that more Utah students are really feeling prepared for all of the post-secondary opportunities that might await them, including college, including career, and other kind of technical opportunities out there. So again, celebrating those scores of 3 or higher, but also, again, all of those students who are getting access to these courses and the teachers and educators that provide them.
And that's what we were hoping to share with you today. Thank you, Michael, for co-hosting and making time.
And Christy,
Mhm.
Christy, can you explain maybe to the public, because I know our board members already know, how Utah is unique? I think there's maybe 5 other states that test 100% of the population. Can you talk about that?
I am not familiar with that piece. Michael, is that something that?
For ACT?
Oh, ACT, never mind.
Okay, I was going, that's not
Never
what
mind.
I'm remembering for AP.
Yes,
Yeah.
ACT, AP, they start with an A, I get that.
thank you.
Yeah, you're, I'm like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
not 100%, so.
Well, we appreciate the report, and there is certainly cause for celebration. And let's keep this trend moving forward in this very positive direction. And we'll look forward to another celebration next year. Thanks for taking time to be here with us this morning to share this important information.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly,
I'm
please.
just looking at the notes at the bottom of the PowerPoint. Can you explain that?
The notes of the bottom of, I don't.
Says-
So the probability of enrollment,
Yes.
that note.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's just, that's more information on where we took this data from in terms of those who graduated high school in 2017. And yeah, sorry, I'm reading through it myself. So it does encounter thing, or the average student in each AP score sample, it's not necessarily conditional of gender, ethnicity, first generation status, all of that.
So you're saying this is the full group, it wasn't broken out? Is
Yes,
that
correct.
your understanding? So this is
Yes.
all the students that took the test. There's other statistics that haven't broken out, right? Am I reading
Yeah, there
that
might be
right?
a difference if you're looking at male, female college
Right.
going rates are higher than male, for
Correct.
example.
This is the full population.
Yeah.
But it says conditional on. So these scores are conditional on. I would think they would say not conditional on if it was just as a whole. it looks like those other areas are being factored into these
Probabilities are,
probability
they're calculated
calculations.
separately for the average student in each AP score sample, conditional on. So,
I have a question.
Mhm.
I know that, like, for example, there are some districts that offer more AP classes than others. So there's more enrollment in different districts. Are you finding that there is, more educators that can teach these AP classes in districts that may not have as many AP class opportunities for students? Or are you feeling, because I feel like there's also this shift in concurrent enrollment. And as someone who's worked in higher ed for a long time, I prefer AP over concurrent enrollment because I know the rigor and challenge of AP courses. But I'm wondering if you're seeing an increase in districts wanting more AP courses, or if it's really balancing out between concurrent and AP.
So first, I will go back and in terms of the probabilities, I'd be happy to follow up with more information on the data from slide 8. I'm definitely not an expert in data myself, but I'm happy to follow up with more details on that report so I can clarify that note. But in terms of the second question, it's kind of a mix. Our reporting that we provide in the spring, which is our AP cohort report, does actually kind of show the percentage of schools that are offering at least one AP course versus, again, maybe those that are offering more than 5. And from what I remember in Utah, we do actually have a significant who do the 5 or more. So I think some of these increases are coming from those schools that are already offering AP. But some of the work that the College Board is doing is really trying to change the invitation and provide different courses, different opportunities to really encourage schools, even if you have, concurrent enrollment or other advanced coursework opportunities, to at least find ways to potentially provide one AP course that makes sense to your students. So that's some of the work that we're doing. And I know Christy and I are trying to partner on. Again, I think all students should have choices and there are great benefits to each, but really making sure that we're doing our part to ensure that the opportunities are broad for students potentially getting that opportunity that you were just talking about to have access to that rigorous coursework.
Cool, thanks.
Of course.
Any other questions or comments from board members or staff that are here in the meeting today? Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your report.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. I'm going to have a little action item now that will take the balance of the meeting and then some. Have the opportunity to review together the CTE course standards for, I think it's 63 courses. And Andrea, do you want to explain what you are going to be putting up on the screen?
I'll go ahead. Yeah.
It's right up.
Oh,
So,
She just took one.
no problem.
Yeah, show me where it's at. I'll
Okay.
the ones that,
yeah, right here.
oh,
We need a little bit bigger.
All righty. So we have here first.
Would you like me to orient you to the document?
Yes, that would be
So,
great.
we have the headers at the top, and thank you, Andrea, for getting all of this put together in such a short time. You do such great work, and I know it's really hard on the eyes and everything else. So thank you so much. Thanks for all board members for getting things in. So there's going to be, when we move down to the rest of it, there's going to be 6 different columns. And with those columns, you'll be able to see what the right down here. Thank you. You'll see what the strand or the standard used to be. You'll see what it was.
So kind of the content specialist, the course number, so we just keep it straight. Then the course name, and then the standard as it was written by the writing committee, and then any amendments that were suggested, and then just a blank column where we can put the motions. So
And as we start
That
this
makes sense.
process, there are 26 courses, I think. How many courses are at the top right up there? 28, thank you. 28 courses that Andrea did not receive any feedback from board members on. So
Okay, I'll make the first motion. I'd move courses 1 through 28. I'm not gonna read all the names. Is that okay? Am I okay with that, Michelle? By indicating that they're there? Okay.
I don't know, that'd be kind of fun. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, well, I can, but I move that the following CTE courses be approved and moved to the full board for final approval. And it's the listing that's listed here visually. And then we can,
Thank you,
that'll be a
Board Member Earl.
document that'll be available, so.
So do we need a second in committee?
No.
No, okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Board Member Green. All opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We're now ready to move to the next course, and this course is food and nutrition.
Okay, and I want to, did we get it listed correctly? Yeah, I just wanted to make an addition to, and I'll tell you where it's at, because I got it wrong when I sent it to Talia. I think I did it backwards. Where's Talia at? There. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's strand. Let's see, it's strand 4, standard 3. And it's just adding, we just do with raw milk. It just adds a little bit of just additional information. It's adding in some of the purported health benefits of raw milk are digestibility and gut health. Raw milk dairies need to meet state regulation in order to sell their products in Utah. So it's just a clarifying addition there for raw milk, just an awareness. So, and I just would, as a little note for that. Does that make sense? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any input or reaction from Lola or from Talia on this addition?
Is it all right if I come up to the table? It's easier to maneuver online. We are fine with that addition. No intro, however you'd like. I think actually Lola felt like it was a good addition. So
Great. All right. Any questions from other board members? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Member Green. We got your aye.
I do have a question. If I'm gonna follow along, Andrea, where would I find that document at?
I think she emailed it to us.
I just have so many.
I know.
Where would I-
It's the last one.
Is the last one?
The last one that came in.
Okay,
Did you
sorry,
count?
I just,
Yeah.
okay, that's not it.
The one that came in first thing this morning or last night?
Later last
Okay,
night.
I'll try again. We can move ahead. I just am like,
Great.
Do you want me to re-email it to you?
no.
No,
Motions for
she
tomorrow.
doesn't want one more email.
Sorry, you're so popular. Motion. What am I looking? I know, but what am I looking for?
it's
Because this one has, when I click on the last one that came in, it was principles of education from board
I'm
member
gonna
Klein.
just email it to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, I just am looking down
Excellent.
several, I can't find.
All
the
right,
page.
we're now moving on to architectural design, formerly CAD, architectural design 1. And board member Earl.
Yeah, this is the reason why, when you Google this document, it actually doesn't, 21st century skills only shows up twice. So I would just encourage us to actually list those. Those are the skills that are actually associated with, I see these are the same skills that are repeated throughout the whole document. 21st century skills to me is a catchphrase, and it could change So I would just, my recommendation is just to strike 21st century skills. So it'd say, identify the professional skills needed for the AEC career, and then to just list those, what those are. Like I said, we only use 21st century skills twice in this whole document, which was almost 370 pages long. And so that's my recommendation, so that we know exactly what those skills are.
Do you mind if we make a motion to, or if we add to your motion to remove the identify 21st century from any other references?
There's only one other place.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
It's in my standard. It is in a few, I think.
It's,
Can I just speak to the intent?
Yeah,
of the whole thing?
you
Would that
can.
be acceptable?
Yeah.
Because it might help guide your decision.
Absolutely, Talia.
Talia Longhurst, Director of Career and Technical Education. Thanks for having us here today to consider these standards for this year. So many years ago, as a staff with our advisory committees and industry partners, we sat down and tried to identify a list of what we call workplace skills. There are many names. 21st century is kind of an older version of the name. Soft skills is also an older version. You'll hear 1,000 different names for these same kinds of traits and characteristics. Our industry partners continue to tell us, and have for eons prior to today, and will for eons after today, probably tell us that these are the types of skills that they most want students to come to them having a solid understanding and being able to demonstrate that they understand communication, they can problem solve, they can work in teams, they can think critically, they can be dependable and show up to work when they say they're going to and do what they say they're going to do, that they're accountable for their actions, and that they understand the legal requirements that go with the work that they're doing. And so we put these into our standards many, many years ago. We don't necessarily teach all of that list in each and every course, but we work with our teachers to try to help them find good, creative ways to work on this list of skills with students. So as they go through their sequence of courses, that they're getting a good understanding and the opportunity to demonstrate each one of these through the pathway. So however you'd like us to list them, whatever you want it to look like, we're happy to do that, but that's why they exist in each and every course.
yeah, I understand that. And they also, even in the skills, right? Skills USA, right? There's the three
Mhm.
components. These are very similar to those, right? Those align. I just would, once again, just identify the professional skills needed, which are the ones you said. And then there's one other place, but I think it's worded a little differently. I was trying to pull up my other document, but,
Back in the olden days, when the group down in Arizona was introducing 21st century skills, and it was the big buzzword every conference you went to as local board members, you were learning about 21st century skills, and you were seeing all the graphics, and it was just such a, I think that even those who have kind of like put a trademark on 21st century skills have changed their 21st century skills. They've evolved, and that's life on planet Earth. Things are going to evolve. So I think there's great wisdom in eliminating that catch-all, because people may think that we're just referring to the group in Arizona who a long time ago came up with the 21st century skills that a lot of school districts, a lot of charters based their approach to contemporary public education on. And it is changing, it has changed, and we're open for continued best practice and best changes. But for right now, I think it's great to identify these skills that are critical to the industry, and not have a catch-all phrase that could be confusing.
and that's the only time that's used in this document, 21st century skills.
But throughout the document, it talks about workplace skills, and even in under performance skills, it lists these several times. So is there a reason that we're calling them different things instead of just standardizing it through the standards?
Ideally, in in my instructions to staff, it should be called workplace skills. This is just a place where a writing committee put it in and we didn't catch it and pull it back
Okay.
out.
So does this need to
So
be?
this would be a technical
Workplace
adjustment
skills
that
so
your
that-
staff could catch and fix.
Do we need to put workplace instead of
If you
professional?
prefer it to be professional, then we will go back and change everything to professional,
Well, so
generally
there's
speaking.
performance skills and workplace skills where these are listed under, so.
Yeah, let me explain the difference between the standards and a performance skill. A performance skill is something that the teacher will assess in a hands-on performance kind of way. The student will actually perform the skill in
So it's more of a
class.
technical.
Welding, like
Correct.
showing there.
Yeah.
And they may say, you know, this, we consider this to be a performance skill, and they'll come up with their own rubric by which they'll measure some of these skills. Are they working in teams? Are they dependable? Are they showing up to class on time? Those kinds of things.
So that's why it's listed under both performance and.
It depends on
workplace
how
skills.
the class,
How was it
standards.
structured in class?
exactly.
Okay, so
So you said your preference is workplace skills.
It's just what we've been using for years.
It's throughout the document as workplace skills, so.
But
most
we're-
do you want,
consistently.
do you want to put, do we want to put workplace then? But
It
instead of
would make it easier
professional?
for us, but we're at.
Oh, yeah, I hear
Yeah,
that.
I think
Let's
that's
do
great.
workplace
I like
skills.
that.
Sorry.
So that's a good observation. I appreciate the fact, Natalie, that
So
you
we're using consistent.
discovered that and you're reading. So let's go ahead.
Andrea, do you want to, or just
Change
direct that? How do you direct it?
Professional, and is that a friendly
Yeah,
amendment?
yeah,
Great.
and I think we could vote.
Okay.
Anyways, unless there's more comment.
If there are no other comments, all those in favor of this motion to add strike skills needed for AEC career, add identify the workplace skills needed for an AEC career, communication, problem solving, teamwork, critical thinking, dependability, accountability, legal requirements / expectations. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Board Member Green.
Okay, does that take care of yours then?
Yes.
Okay, and then mine, I just had a question. I didn't understand on this one, so let me see if I can pull that up. It's, I should have put page numbers, huh?
Do you need page numbers for each? I put the page number for each categories.
Yeah, or do you have the next one?
Architectural, design, is it 2 or 1?
That's what I'm saying.
Starts on page 24, 2 starts on 32. Cause I know I went by page number.
Architectural 2.
For the record, I
Starts
did
on
remember
page
the page numbers.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I saw it and went, oh, wait, we gotta have page numbers.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Talia, are you fine with us removing or do not, or not use?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just
So-
trying to see the I couldn't
Yeah.
understand the appropriately use or not use for
It doesn't,
personal.
yeah, it's like a.
So I didn't feel like it added
When
anything.
not to use it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't change anything by
Yeah.
just taking it
Yeah.
out.
So I just recommend taking it out. It was unclear to me what we were talking about. So that's my motion. If there's any,
Okay,
So
remove or not use. Okay, any questions, any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Board Member Green. All right. Now
so,
we're
yeah,
to Board Member Klein.
make a motion to strike a culture of and replace it with workplace.
I like that. I like that. It's straightforward. Is that,
I have a question on that because I missed, because I contacted a few people about the fire department. One last week, I have a couple family members and just people I know in that are fire chiefs, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
There is a culture of safety. It's not just be safe in the workplace, but it is an actual culture, meaning that everybody's aware of it and you're cautious of it. And so let me go back to do you have the page number on this actual one?
Is this a motion or an amendment that you have on a bunch of different courses?
Probably repeats.
Okay. Because I think we're looking at the architectural design one right now.
I just want to
Yeah.
look and see where it's actually sitting, only because it may need to still be the culture. Not that it's about, it's just about that safety. Am I right in saying
You're
that?
exactly right. And I would add that a culture of a lot of different things
Yeah.
are in workplaces. And it's just a sense of understanding that this is just who we are and what we do.
Because
We
under,
practice safety.
yeah, under the fire department one, the fire safety one or whatever. Like I said, when I reached out and asked about, because I asked about the culture too, do we have to have culture in there? And the emphasis was, and I can't remember the exact phrasing with it, but this is a culture of this, and we have to have this culture, or you need to understand a culture in the fire department because it's different than cultures other places. And there's certain components to that when someone goes into that, they need to understand that this is what that culture looks like.
Most institutions and businesses and corporations now have part of HR is people and workplace culture, which is like the culture of that organization and that place that you're working at. So it's by basically saying like in our workplace culture, we believe that safety is the ultimate, or like that you always make sure this or that, right? Whatever.
Yeah, so did you find a page number by chance, Natalie?
I can, no,
Oh, okay.
I don't know where it is. I don't know
Oh,
that
let me look,
everything
type
got
it in there.
copied over for my amendments to this. So I think I'm missing some things and I think we should share.
Okay, so it's on page 30. I found it just typing it into the find. Contribute to a culture of safety by, so, and tell me if that's the right spot. It's technology and engineering workplace skills.
Page 30, yeah, I just.
It's on
I don't know
page
why I'm
30
thinking
under
lost my
workplace
highlight.
skills in this
But yes.
instance.
Okay, and then, so I'm just gonna read where it's at.
It's
It's,
the contribute to a culture of safety by, and then it has the 3 bullet points under it.
yes, is that right? Okay, so the 3 bullet points, I just am trying to look back and say, do we need the culture of safety related to these things? So understanding and complying with established safety procedures, that's what they would be teaching in their culture. Watching for and speaking out when potential hazards and concerns are observed. And then the last one is actively participating in improving safety conditions. So let me understand, those 3 pieces, those 3 cultural pieces will be the things that are emphasized in that culture of safety. It's not other items.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm actually would prefer that the culture stayed in there because of that. Is there something specific that, Natalie, that you have a concern with that and the safety components that are related to
Well,
that?
and I looked into the fire department stuff too, and that will come up later on it. But there's a lot of political things added to that, like they're pushing initiatives like mandate, and they're actually requiring students to advocate for the passage of these initiatives, one of which would be a requirement, a mandate for residential sprinklers
So
systems
what
in your
in this
home.
one,
And so it's more, it includes creating systems that keep the firefighters from having to like go into buildings to save people. Like they're just like putting systems in place.
just
like
safety
sprinkler
to save the
systems.
lives of. Is that what
So,
I'm hearing?
so that it's more about, it's almost like it's more about saving the firefighters' lives than it is to rescuing other people, and what's the risk to the firefighter instead of how do we actively help save lives. It's kind of switching it around, which is really odd to me, because if we have emergencies like this, we've historically been able to depend on these emergency services to come in and rescue us and to put the fires out, and not just require that we have residential sprinklers in our homes so that they don't have, so that they're not at risk. And then our house is not only, it's either burned or it's flooded
In
or
these
ruined with water.
in these trades and in these skills, they have to adapt to whatever the state code is. So if the state code changes to say that all new buildings have to have internal sprinklers,
But
they
then
need
they're
to be trained to be able to adapt their rescue to whatever
But they're-
the building is state code required to have.
But they're actually pushing for legislation to mandate residential sprinklers.
see
So
any
like,
of that.
it's in one of the fire safety.
So is it, okay, so I'm just
They
coming back
list
to
several initiatives. If you search initiatives, each of those initiative numbers are those things. And that's just one of their initiatives. And in the CTE standards, they actually get the kids to advocate and write papers on and research why these things are important. And then
So is
As
that,
if
I'm not
that's-
seeing those numbers here, so.
No, not in this one,
Okay, so
but
this
this is what I'm explaining is the culture of safety is so much more than what you described. If you go to the fire standards and then you look at the fire associations.
But if
And
you
what those
strike
initiatives
culture, I'm just saying, let's say we strike culture, okay? You're still contributing to the safety by, you still
Yes.
have those things. But the reason why culture's there is it creates that cohesiveness within the environment you're working.
But workplace.
You're saying the
safety
second we
doesn't-
said culture there, that it all of a sudden becomes an activism and you're doing sprinklers and other things?
That is
That's-
how they promote their culture of safety.
Maybe we
So
just
in
get to
this
this
architectural design
It's about more
application,
than just being safe. It's, the culture of safety brings in the political aspect where they're advocating for certain policies and regulations.
Things that
and-
aren't hazardous, things that are, so you're saying that
No,
they would
they're pushing
advocate for.
initiatives like policies at the legislative level. That's what I'm saying. The culture of safety is not just about keeping everybody safe. It's about advocating for policy change.
Okay, well, for this one exactly, it breaks down every single thing
Right.
that they teach.
So
in
We
the
may
art
too, when we get to the fire
So we
department, because I did see those numbers there. I haven't researched those, so that may be worth something looking into a little bit more in depth when we get
So I
there.
just wanted to avoid the culture of safety language so that we avoid the political aspect of it so that students aren't being expected to
I,
participate in these things, which some of the standards are written such that that's what they're
Yeah, I
asking
think
us to
we
do.
can
do
vote on
you
this one.
feel that
I
in
don't-
architectural design that would be a concern since it's not
Establish
really any kind of a public safety or a government, I mean, it's a architectural design firm.
It's just it brings in the political aspect. And I haven't researched it on this, but I figure if, that
It lists right below it exactly what they'll learn on
Right.
that. And so for me, I hear what you're saying, but on this one, I think that culture is appropriate based on the following pieces that they're teaching. They're very specific there, and there's nothing political in that.
an architecture, does that need a culture of safety the way you described it?
Yeah, watching out and speaking out
This
when
is
potential hazards
design
are observed.
versus actual building.
Technology and engineering, workplace skills.
So the architectural side is usually the design side. So
Well, but they
it's
also go
usually
into,
Right, if you build
the
a
safety
work building.
element, the work sites.
I'm comfortable with it being there. I don't
You have
feel like,
cement,
I,
slippery outside
yeah,
of that.
I'm comfortable with it being there in this one. There may be some others, and I think it would be worth looking into further. So,
So we'll take, board member Klein's, motion, which is contribute to workplace safety and eliminating a culture of. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
oh, no, sorry. Are you gonna vote
Oh.
for yours?
Sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
All those opposed?
just check with Emily. I didn't, okay.
Emily,
What was that?
Emily, are you for or against?
I'm against.
Okay,
did you hear? I could,
she said against.
against.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be 1 for, I think, and then 4 against, is that?
Uh-huh.
And I have a couple more that didn't get transferred over on this same page.
Okay,
So if you, page 30, I would move to strike, this is, I don't know, the bullet points aren't numbered, it'd be easier if they were numbered. Where it starts, work productively as a member of a team with.
That's the next one down.
Oh, it is
in the
there?
sentence.
So it
just keeps going like
Oh, okay, okay.
For each
Sorry.
one. I mean,
Great, so it is there. All right, so we'd strike with an awareness of and respect for global diversity and that the rest of that's supposed to be stricken also cultural differences there. Just put, yeah, work productively as a member of a team. Since that incorporates the rest, it doesn't really need the other part. If they're working productively as a team, that means it's working.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
tell me, is this, I'm trying to, I see where member Klein's coming from. If the focus isn't on working productively as a team, it's focused on diverse groups, right? Instead of do you see this as, working productively as a team, as the engagement with the team, its members themselves, or is this an awareness of different cultures as you're building and doing your architecture? Does that make sense?
It
Is it
does.
about the architecture element or is it about the team?
I think it's both.
Okay.
So when you work as a team, you need to be respectful of those others that you're working with who think differently than you do. And to be respectful of those differences, but also, especially in an architectural design course, you may be called upon or hired to work for people whose culture you don't know, and you want to be respectful of those things. I am not an architect. If you have further questions, I'm gonna.
Yeah, you're good. Cause I think the way you design something sometimes is reflective of culture. So I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that's incorporated in there.
It's even down to like, so my girlfriend works in
Day-to-day.
construction project management, and so she'll work with people who own real estate agencies and then people who have done design, like even within different industries, there's just different cultural differences and, they have different working styles. So when you're building a project for someone, you're trying to also understand their point of view and what they're trying to do at their business when you're building the structure in which they house them.
So part of my point in taking that out is that it's subjective. These are standards. They're supposed to be tested and measured, and I don't know how you measure that part. You can look and say, are they working productively as a member of a team? And that's more apparent. But the rest is left up to somebody, somebody's own personal bias of whether you are doing that last part. So in an effort to keep it simple and keep out the subjectivity, I just think it's better that we go here. And anywhere you go in the world, you're going to be working with people that are different, whether you're of the same race or nationality. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I'm fine with keeping cultural differences as it stands, so work productively as a member of a team, and then just keeping that cultural differences. We can take out the respect for diversity. I'm fine taking that piece out, but I think that it's important to still say cultural differences. And so I would speak against her full amendment, but I'd be happy if it was amended to say work productively as a member of a team with awareness and respect for cultural differences.
So when I saw this amendment from Board Member Klein, I checked with my brother-in-law, who is vice president of a large engineering firm. And he immediately told the story of last year having a group that they were doing a major engineering job for, a design job for, from China. And as he was interacting with them, they were flying from West Coast to East Coast and stopped in Salt Lake for a meeting. And he arranged a hotel conference room out by the airport. And they came in and he had the agendas. He was trying to be sensitive to their time. And he had the agendas sitting on the dinner table. So they were come from their flight, come and sit down, get through the agenda. And unfortunately, they didn't get the job. They decided not to go with his firm because they were mixing business with the dinner. And they thought that was rude. And from a cultural standpoint, it had nothing to do with, they're one of the best engineering firms in the nation, internationally. And the fact that, and he was just trying to be efficient and aware of their time so they could make their flight and get back to Washington DC. And they just took offense and took their business elsewhere because he didn't understand the cultural difference that you've got to sit down, just like when you go to China, first thing you do, you walk in and they pour tea or hot water. And you have to stop and have that little exchange before you talk about whatever you're going to talk about, or before you do whatever it is you're going to do. So that's an example. He said, I would think that we should at least have cultural differences, if not global diversity. He could see losing global diversity in that particular. So I don't know.
So
I
do you
thought that was
want
an interesting thing.
Randy, do you want to vote or do we do a substitute motion? What would you like to do? Vote on the first one, and if it doesn't pass, then vote on the second? Is that,
I'm good with.
should we do that first? That's good way, sort of relax on Robert rules a little bit.
Okay, so we'll do board member Klein's amendment, work productively as a member of a team, period, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Me? Aye.
No.
No, no, okay.
Emily, where do you live?
Was Emily, I didn't get her vote.
I was an A.
Okay, thank you. And now board member Reels, work productively as a member of a team with an awareness of and respect for cultural differences. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
That motion passes 4-1. Board member Klein is the nay. All right, now we have
This is just down just a little further, right?
another
Yes.
one from architectural design.
Yeah, the document I sent you was like that one.
Yeah, I'm just trying, I run
Board
into it,
member Klein.
because I want to see where it
So I would
lies.
move to strike while maintaining a flexible and adaptable attitude, and the part that my addition got missed, so you could type this in, was to add demonstrating the ability to adapt to changing needs and situations.
Is that down below?
Right now.
Straight inability. Oh,
I captured
Just need to unstrike it. yeah.
Changing needs and situations, or just needs? Situations.
We could do either one if you don't think situations is needed. Because the needs of the individuals versus
Leah,
situations.
does that change that at all? It seems like it's the
whatever you
friendly, yeah.
The difference was the adaptable attitude, like instead of adapting to the different
situation.
needs of the
Okay.
situation.
I'm good, I'm ready to go.
Can I speak to that, please?
Yeah, what was that, Emily?
I just wanted to speak to this. If
sure.
I-
Go ahead.
I do like Klein's amendment here. I think just even in the workforce, maintaining a flexible and adaptable attitude, that's important for sure. But I think demonstrating the ability to adapt to changing needs and situations is the better clarifier, especially in a managerial position, because that's what you have to do. The other I would imply like, oh, our warehouse is burning, but we are totally adaptable and we're going to have a positive attitude about this. I just think that demonstrating the ability to adapt to changing needs and situations is the reality of the workplace. So I just think it's a great clarifier. So I am in support of this amendment.
Great. Any further comment? No. All in favor of Klein's amendment, exhibit initiative and leadership, strike while maintaining a flexible and adaptable attitude, add demonstrating the ability to adapt to changing needs and situations.
We'll need to unstrike while, I think.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
to connect it,
Oh, okay, thank you.
agreed?
All right, so while is still in there. exhibit initiative and leadership while demonstrating the ability to adapt to changing needs and situations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Great. Next. So it's those two bucks, the one up there and the one here.
So the next one that I show is demonstrate an ability to then strike, think critically and creatively. Two, so that part's taken out, so it continues. Demonstrate an ability to solve problems and develop improvements to products and processes.
Having hired a lot of people, the biggest things that I look for in a workplace environment is their ability to think critically, their ability to communicate. And those are like the most essential. I can find someone who might have high skills, but doesn't know how to think critically and isn't a great communicator. Especially in things like technology and engineering, creativity is also really important. And in what I do as well. So for me, I would be opposed to taking this out because I think thinking critically and being creative are some of the most essential, including also communication, are some of the most essential things for the workplace.
So I would say it, like your amendment earlier, or not use, is that wasn't really needed to be able to clarify this. The think critically and creative is implied in the demonstrate an ability to solve problems and develop improvements to products and processes. It's already implied. It doesn't, and it, so, but it's more objective without that in there because that adds an element of subjectivity to it. And it's open to
Although I would
somebody's
argue
opinion.
that the creativity element isn't automatically assumed in problem solving. Problem solving does not automatically assume creativity. Creativity, especially when it comes to products and processes, is one of those things I think is.
But if you're able to develop improvements to products and processes, that shows you have a level of creativity. If you're able to make those, come up with improvements on those. And to solve problems,
I see what you're-
demonstrate your
I see what
ability
you're
to
saying.
think critically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, demonstrate ability.
But adding those brings in a level of subjectivity or someone's opinion instead of just a demonstrable fact that's objective to measure.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but I'm okay to vote if you guys are.
However, think critically and creativity are things that employers in the workplace are measuring.
How do you measure it, except for by the results, which is what's already incorporated in the standard without those. The only way to measure critical thinking critically and creatively is by demonstrating that you can solve problems and develop improvements in products and processes.
Yeah. I just don't think there's any harm in
Except that it brings in
creating,
opinion.
in specifically reinforcing those workplace skills that
So,
most major employers are looking to.
so the earlier, when we talked about workplace skills and that list of things, that's already there as something to be talked about and taught and emphasized, but that's a skill versus a standard. So I think it's good that those were separated out in that way under workplace skills versus this
Can I
one where you're
then?
demonstrating.
Okay,
If I may ask a question, and maybe this is to the writers of the standard. Are we asking, is what we're looking for on this the ability to, will they be tested on the ability to solve? Or will part of the assignment be they get points for their critical thinking skills and their creativity skills? Like, where does this land in the classroom? What do we
So
feel
I
like?
have to phone a friend.
Okay.
Well, I can give an example in my classes. So
If you want,
I give, all of my students give a presentation on a president, right? They have to pick a president and we go from oldest to newest, right? And I tell them they can do it. They can, as long as they follow the rubric and cover all the different information, they can do it however they want. But I emphasize, be creative in how you're teaching the rest of the class about this president. And so there's an importance to creativity. So if my students get up there and they read from their PowerPoint that they made with nothing on the slides and it's really boring, then that shows that they really weren't thinking creatively about how to present this information. Whereas I've had students write songs about presidents. I've had them do skits about presidents. I've had them make games to teach about the president and follow that rubric. So I think that it is something that you can gauge in the classroom, is if they are being creative about the way that they're doing their work. So
This is technology and engineering and.
I mean, I can't think of anything more creative than engineering. It is, you have to like, it's
But
all
again,
about how can you be creative and solve problems? How can you be creative in your design? How can you be creative in your way to solve engineering problems or technology problems?
But if you solve the problem, that's the important part when it comes to technology and engineering. And whether you do that, you
So I think
know,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think what you're saying, Natalie, if I'm reading this right, is that you're saying the measurement falls on the think critically and creatively, not on the problem solving. If, when you read this, demonstrate the ability to think critically and creatively, and then it's the to solve a problem, and then
yeah, the focus needs to
That's
be
what I was
on
asking too.
emphasizing this
to solve the problem and develop improvements to products and processes. It could use, in my view, though, I do think creativity needs to be there, but maybe it's at the end instead of the beginning. You're talking about problem solving and developing improvements to products and processes. I don't know, is there a way to put it in at the end instead of the beginning? Because you're saying the emphasis is here instead of on the other, and I can see that.
well, everything is moving towards emphasizing the workplace or what they're calling workplace skills, which are the soft skills instead of the hard skills. Workplace skills should really be the hard skills. And we're moving more towards the focus being everything on the soft skills and even calling it workplace skills, which is kind of odd that we're taking like the actual skill of, you know, technology and engineering and turning that into a soft skill.
Yeah, I think there's enough of those still in here. I don't think it's lacking in that. I just think,
We have it listed everywhere else.
yeah, but I'm just saying in this actual course, there's enough of the hard skills. It's not missing that. It's just trying to incorporate those other components. In my view, I didn't see that.
Another question for you. You said you differentiated earlier between the standard and the workplace skill.
So
Critical
performance skills is what I differentiated.
So the workplace skills are considered a standard and will be tested and measured.
It depends on how the course is written.
But anywhere those workplace skills are listed as a workplace skill in a standard, they are, that list is part of the standards where they'll be tested.
They may or may not be tested. Generally, there'll be an informal assessment.
But isn't the
Observation.
purpose of the standards, like, we only put in the standards what can be tested and measured?
Right, but they can be observationally measured, providing feedback to students. It doesn't have to necessarily require a standardized assessment.
I just feel like the observational things should be separate from the course part of the standard. So that we are making sure that we don't lose the focus on actual hard skills for that particular industry or workplace or that career versus the soft skill stuff. And I would prefer that they be called soft work skills instead of workplace skills that imply that they're the hard skills. Does that make sense? I feel like
what
we're
you're saying.
muddying the waters
I
and not,
would-
and
would disagree that they're not.
hard skills. But
They're
they're
essential
subjective,
skills.
they're essential, like,
But just because they're not maybe measurable does not mean you don't include it. So like
Right.
dependability.
but I'm looking for a distinction so that we don't
Yeah.
end up. Because maybe somebody, like, take doctors, for example, some have really poor bedside manners, right? But they may be the best doctor and most skilled in their area. And would you rather choose a doctor because he has really wonderful bedside manners, but maybe not so great when it comes to actual skills and being able to take care of you and surgical skills
And that's
and
the
things like that?
reason, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the reason why you put you
That they're trying to
incorporate the
incorporate it.
others in so that you,
Right,
you
but
have-
right, and I don't, and that's why I'm fine leaving like the list of workplace skills, but that should be separate from incorporating it into, because it's already going to be infused. You don't need the standard on the skills to be infused with it each individually. Otherwise, it just becomes redundant throughout.
So, Member Kleiner, you're saying that standards should be the hard skills. They should be the academic.
Yes.
They should be the merit-based. The soft skills come by nature of the teacher in the classroom and how
Yes,
they
through
choose to take that
instruction.
standard on, correct?
The discussing and modeling of the teacher.
but if you don't have them in your standards to
Well,
start with,
they
you
are
won't.
listed, but usually towards the end under workplace skills,
This is workplace skills.
that's what we're under.
That's what
This
we're
is just a
under,
more
is
elaborate
workplace
version of it,
skills.
yeah.
Yeah, but it does hit the hard skills, understanding mathematical concepts such as ratios, proportions, it goes on. It
Yes.
has those, this is the workplace skills. This is what you need to be
Yes.
successful. I
Not-
actually
not
moved
to the
putting it at
exclusion
the
of-
end so that it focuses on, so that the focus is on the, so my motion would be what I put there. I can't find where I'm at now. So the focus is on the problem solving because that's the measurement portion.
That's the
So
most
it's touch
essential
up
for
there.
Yeah, but then I still think that the using
skills are
critical
a
thinking
bonus,
and
but
creativity,
they're not the essential.
yeah. So that's, I would move that.
Okay,
Randy's, I think, superintendent.
yes. Superintendent. Welcome.
Thank you. So I've been listening in my office and I was talking to myself, so I thought it would be better. I have been spending a lot of time from summer on in this conversation, and I've had the opportunity to be with researchers from Johns Hopkins, from Stanford, from people who represent organizations like the National Council of Education and the Economy, and I know I probably got that wrong, it's just NCEE. America Succeeds, they're all people who are working on these issues, because what they're finding is that both in the workplace and in civic life, there are a lot of spaces where they're looking at an absence of these skills, and overwhelmingly, they talk about, they never call them soft skills. And to Leah's point, I've heard the most oft term used is durable skills, but I've heard other skills as well. And they have to be taught in content. So if you were just teaching them, so let's say you're teaching critical thinking, well, what are you thinking about? So they're durable in that they're supposed to go across content, and they play out in family life, in civic education, in the workplace. So I'm trying to understand, Member Klein, the need to separate them out, because what the research shows is if they're not taught in content across, then they don't really take root as an actual skill that can be walked away with. So, for example, perseverance. I don't know that that's listed anywhere, but that's a good life skill, right? And we want kids to persevere when they're working on a math problem and just not give up because they say, I don't have the math gene, or I don't know how to do math. But perseverance is something that high-performing countries teach in content. So you would teach it in math, you would teach it in engineering, you want kids to stick with the problem and solve the problem. So teaching critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, all of those things should and can be taught, and they've been taught in CTE forever. Like CTE is the fertile ground for all of these skills to be taught, because it's a place where traditionally kids have been able to use performance tasks, do things in a hands-on manner, and be able to demonstrate that they are using these skills. So I think it's important to think about not just CTE, but the durability of the skills being taught in content. And you've got the CTE standard, but these durable skills, if we don't teach them explicitly and don't call them out explicitly, teachers don't know what necessarily to do. I know America Succeeds is working on a plan to try and create, I don't know that I would call them lesson plans, but specific tasks so that there's a bank to choose from regardless of the content that you teach. So a teacher could say, prompt, that's the word I'm looking for. You could take a social studies lesson, and if you're trying to teach critical thinking, then here's some prompts in that content that you could use to teach it so that they're explicitly taught. And these are the things that not only high performing countries are doing, but workforce, military, all sorts of different spaces are saying these are the things our kids are missing when they come to us. We want them to have the content knowledge, and we want them to show these durable skills, or again, whatever you call them. So I just wanted to add that piece.
So how do you explicitly teach someone critical thinking by just talking about critical thinking? The skill comes in the doing.
Correct. Yeah, they have to do it, but you have to teach them the steps as well.
What would you teach are the steps for resilience or critical thinking or any of these other soft skills?
Could I maybe
Actually pick up by you just discussing it.
I think one
It's in the
example, if I
doing
may,
that they develop resilience, that they
Yeah, it's both. You have
develop
to teach
grit.
it. Teach them so
But
they can do
they
it.
don't have to even know the word to discover that and learn it. That's the real deep learning. If we want to talk about deep learning, it's by doing it and sticking with a project and problem solving through things again and again and again that they develop that. You can't teach someone to be empathetic by talking about empathy. It's discussed and modeled.
That's why it's placed within. I think, did Emily have?
I believe so. Board Member Green.
well, I know that this is a good conversation to have, I believe, as we are on, the standards and assessment, like what should the standards be? And I do hold the belief that it is the foundation. So the best one is math. If we were to apply, you need to know your multiplication. You teach them that to the point that it's a reflex. 7 times 2 is 14, right? 3 times 3 is 9. And then from there, they can become creative in how they can showcase that mastery. But they can't showcase mastery if they haven't learned the foundation. So I think through all of this, what I'm hearing is that it's foundational academics be the priority in the standards. The creativity, the critical thinking is the second part that comes naturally because of mastery to a foundational base. So I think that's, if I'm hearing that correctly, what's being said is we want to make sure our priority is not subjective, it is rather foundational. And so back to the amendment, because we've got a lot ahead of us. I think this amendment here, prioritizing the ability to solve a problem. This is in interview processes. Something's given to the interviewee. They have to showcase immediately that they can solve a problem. By solving a problem, that employer knows that they have the ability to think critically and that they have a creative mind to do so. So I feel like the priority has been ironed out. I'm ready to vote. And I think moving forward, we just have it as a quality check. Are we putting foundational academic merit-based at the priority of standard because we can test it? The other stuff is the icing on the cake by its very nature. I say we vote.
Thank you. You explained it very well.
Okay, so we have Board Member Klein's motion, demonstrate an ability to solve problems and develop improvements to products and processes. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. And Board Member Green,
She said aye.
she said aye. Okay, now we have Board Member Earls. Demonstrate an ability to solve problems and develop improvements to products and processes using critical thinking and creativity. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And no.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
I think Natalie, I think you're right. We put the primary thing forward, but we also, I just think that there's to be able to identify those processes that are going to take place and encourage that. I don't think there's harm in that. What's your next one? You have, it says see condition, see combined motion above. Is it a duplication in the next section? Is that why?
It is, those same things are in.
So we would just,
Into.
I guess we could ask to pass similar items, but I don't know what
Exactly the
those are.
same.
So that's what you've done. If you go back up and look, there you go. So in the third column, it's in architectural design 1, 2, and 3. It just was all divided into one, since it appears the same in all three.
Okay, so the work productively as a member of a team, so we would just make a motion to duplicate those?
You just did.
I think we did. It was in that because it was like.
Right here.
Oh, because it's in that column, say
Yes.
Okay,
There's in several
Okay.
standards, I guess.
okay.
You were working so well this.
Okay, so then we would be workplace skills.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Now we're on
this is the
to
typical
digital audio.
skills that I was
Digital
looking at.
audio.
Yeah, so my motion was to, and this one missed that one part, and Andrea,
Yeah.
where we took out taught and reinforced and put and modeled.
Stop.
Instead.
Are we at the end of the architectural standards? Can we pass those to move on?
Are we gonna pass them one at a time?
Can we just make a motion to pass the 3 architectural standards now?
So you've done other courses as well. You did.
Right, but we can pass where we're at, right? Like we can say, we'd like to move the architectural standards to the full board. And
And it
then,
was the food and nutrition above that too. Do you want to do that?
okay, should we do that real quick?
You
as we
want
go?
Let's
to
do
do
it.
each
Yeah, let's
individual
do
once we're done?
I make a motion that we pass food and nutrition and the architectural classes
1, 2, and
to the full.
Architectural design 1, 2, 3.
Architectural design 1, 2, and 3 to the full board for approval. Did I say that right?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Okay, so
Now we're on to digital audio 1.
that's.
Okay. I'm gonna
So I'm on
change
page-
this one really quick
45.
to the verbiage that Member Klein
I don't
feels
think that's
better
where it's at.
about. With also taking out taught and reinforced and changed to and modeled. Along with the striking of the legal requirements and expectations. So I'll let her speak to it, but I wanted to change the verbiage.
All workplace skills should be
Oh, no,
discussed
that
and
better?
modeled in
That was the
board.
other one, okay.
So Member Klein, is that the verbiage that you preferred for these workplace skills ones? That's up on the screen now?
Yes, discussed and modeled in the course, or, yeah, and some of them say throughout the course, so I don't know if you want to have them all the same, Talia.
I would prefer that. It just makes it easier.
So
for
you
us
could just
to-
say throughout the course, and we'll make sure that it's consistent as we go and get these.
So I'm looking at page, just so you know, Natalie, I think it's page 48, maybe that
Okay.
one's on.
Let me just, let's see, I just stopping when I see, but I think we got those in the combined one.
May I just point out that earlier in architectural design 1, you did approve the list of workplace skills that we were going to run all
Okay.
throughout our document. So this would be a change then to a motion that you've already passed.
So, well, the other one didn't have this, and this kind of verbiage at the beginning of the list.
So
So
my
you-
understanding was that you wanted the original way that you passed, which would change this.
So
To
it
be
wouldn't
the
have, it wouldn't have the verbiage, it would only be the list.
It would cite the work, what is the terminology we use?
Because the previous one didn't say the following workplace
Identify-
skills should be. What did it say?
Identify skills needed for successful careers or something.
Whatever the career is.
For CAE, which stands for,
AEC.
or,
That's the
Architectural.
architectural.
I'm
that was
just
just
gonna
for
make up
that
an
one.
E.
So that one had different verbiage because it was that, this one, throughout the rest of them,
But it would read
says
something similar for each one.
the following workplace skills should be discussed, taught, and reinforced, and of course, is how all the others read.
So you want it, that's what I'm hearing you say is that if we do the consistency, identifying the professional skill, not professional.
Workplace.
Identify the workplace skills needed for, and then citing the class.
Okay, so it would automatically take out discussed, taught, reinforced, or the need for my amendment.
It is what you've already passed.
And that you would just continue that
You
down.
would continue it in every course.
Okay.
Now, why are you striking legal
Okay,
requirements?
so legal requirements and expectations.
Sorry, so is this the language that we want to copy paste into?
No. Yes.
Which one was it?
Back of
It was that one.
That's that.
From
Yes, that's
Earl's
our position.
amendment. But you would just change the name of the class or to fit.
So identify the workplace skills needed. Okay. And I will just copy paste that down.
Visual audio.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So I took out, I asked to strike legal requirements and expectations because it didn't fit like communication, teamwork, like those are like descriptive, whereas legal requirements and expectations are not.
Okay, I'm just looking
descriptive,
back
it
at the
just-
course itself, because you're talking about, you're on YouTube, you're on SoundCloud, the things that would have to do with the legal elements associated. with
Right, so that makes sense. And on that one further down, it said, it had parentheses after legal requirements and expectations. They gave more clarification as to what that meant. And I added understanding in front, so understanding legal
So
requirements.
do you
and
want, I don't see it.
It's not in this one, it's in a different workplace one. And so I didn't know if they should all be the same or if, because there was just some variation between them, slight variations, but at least on the one, it made a little more sense when I added understanding in front. So it was like, instead of just legal requirements.
So Talia, my understanding would be that we had different people using similar formatting, but they might not have got the wording right. So you're just looking at consistency. Are you suggesting putting using in front of the legal requirements and expectations?
Or understanding, following something, so it sounds more like a
What would be
skill.
best? Probably following,
My preference is
That's
following,
fine.
but again. it's up
That's
to you.
fine. And if we just want to make that
legal
consistent
people, what do you
throughout-
think? Do we use legal requirements or do we follow legal requirements?
I think you would want to follow them. I like that.
Okay.
Follow them.
Okay,
That's
so then
fine.
as we get to other ones, we'll make that modification.
Yes, and we'll just make them consistent
So we
throughout.
probably just need to vote on that then. So follow.
Can it be a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Oh, wait, no.
We're just following is what it's gonna be. Thank you very much. Moving on.
Okay.
Klein amendment on standard 2.
It's, just want to make sure, so standard 2, strand 2, standard 1, that's the next one I show? No, never mind, fine. That's not one.
Digital 2.
We'll work together as opposed to collaborate.
Based.
Okay. Oh, yes.
It was a friendly amendment.
Okay, so just, to strike, collaborate and add, work together.
Teamwork.
Was okay with it too.
Other platform.
It's standard, strand 5, standard 2, based on classroom resources, students should select a distribution platform and work together to produce one or several of the following.
I'm gonna vote against this. I just feel like it's unnecessary. I think collaborate is a word that the educators understand, and work together means the same thing, and it just seems unnecessary. So I don't have any other comments other than I'm not gonna die on this hill, but it just feels
The
unnecessary.
only reason why I'm agreeing with it is we just did the communication teamwork. It falls into the teamwork, even though you're right, it means the same. That's why it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And you
Well,
still
we'll
have collaborate up in the Strand. So it covers both.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to waste a lot of time on it.
So do
Okay.
you want to take a vote then?
Yeah, let's vote.
Okay.
Based on classroom resources, students should select a distribution platform and work together to produce one or several of the following. And then whatever it lists. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. So that passes 3-2.
The next one is the workplace again, so we can just make that consistent. And do we need to vote on that every time, or can we just vote to
All of them change?
all the workplace?
We did. Okay.
I
Okay,
think
okay.
it will happen.
So with this,
Those are all.
list the skills as
Well,
well.
just make sure.
It's all
Everybody's-
that would be past digital audio 1 and 2 that's after this.
So I do have a question.
There's several
More
of
on
them
radio.
like that.
Yeah, I just want to, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
Well,
make them,
get these two first.
Radio production one in there first.
yeah, let's go
Okay,
ahead.
radio production.
We don't want, okay.
So maybe Talia or someone can, I'm just trying to, so I'm looking at this recommendation here. It's taught and reinforced which is 2 steps, modeled.
So again, you've already changed this.
We've already
language.
changed
We've already
Oh,
changed
sorry.
all of these, so we're just gonna make them all consistent.
Anytime you see workplace skills now, just.
Okay,
Unless
okay.
it seems really out there.
Okay,
So
so
let's make a motion to
then
pass
are we done with that one then, Natalie, or did you have something else?
digital audio 1 and 2.
Yeah, let's go back up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my next one, it's in commercial, so, yeah.
Okay,
We
so
can pass radio production 1 and 2 too. Yeah.
okay, so let me make a motion that we pass, I make a motion that we pass digital audio 1 and 2, as well as radio production 1 and 2, and send to the full board for approval.
Any discussion? Seeing none? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. That's passes unanimously. We're now ready for commercial photography, I think.
Okay, the next one is to strike self-reflection and add identify areas for.
Oh,
That's a hard one for me.
I would take out for.
What's the difference you see in self-reflection and identify?
Because
areas where-
self-reflection just means you're just thinking about it, but identify is more objective, like you have to write it down, you have to say, what can I do better? It's just more concrete than self-reflection.
I would be fine with leaving self-reflection and adding identify areas of improvement, because I think in most things that are adjacent to art, like commercial photography, the self-reflection on, the artist's work, which is the photographs that they're taking is important. So
You strike for.
could that be a friendly amendment to have both?
And I think there's value in that, and the reason why is because self-reflection isn't always identifying improvements. Sometimes self-reflection is actually,
So it leads to.
I made efficiency, well, I had efficiency in time. There's, there's a variety of things that aren't
Sometimes it's dang, I'm good.
Yeah.
on occasion. But do you see what I'm saying? It's not always this idea, I'm gonna, to continually be improving upon. Sometimes it can be, it was enough. Or a variety of other things
I
too.
like both. I really like identify areas, but I really, as an artist, self-reflection is just key.
yeah.
Photography is very artistic.
Even if it's commercial, it's
Do
still.
you want us to vote on those separate?
Yes,
Okay.
but we need to strike for.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There you go. Oh. And so this is the other reason, is analyze, evaluate, and critique. That's already, self-reflection is analyze, evaluate, critique. That is the self-reflection. It's just more concrete. ways of defining what self-reflection is. So it's really just redundant and unnecessary.
But it's artistic rather than,
But that's part of the evaluation.
May I say,
well, I think a photography instructor is still gonna have himself self-reflect.
They're gonna reflect anyway. They're gonna just do that naturally. It doesn't need to be in there.
I think we have a
I
comment.
don't mean to be out of line. One definition for self-reflection is to think about your thinking. So if you're looking at that, you're analyzing, evaluating, but then self-reflection is say, okay, how did I think about that? And is there another way to think around that? There's a little mini
So
nuance to it,
changing
but
people's
that's just for your own self.
attitudes, values. minds.
No, just evaluate your own self. Say, how did I think about that? Is there another way? Yeah.
I think we do that too much sometimes, and it gets kids in trouble if they overthink, and that puts them not always in a good place.
That may be true. That may be true if you're overdoing it, but I don't.
But the
Is it
analyze,
overdone
evaluate,
here?
and critique
That's the,
is
yeah.
sufficient.
Okay, well, we can.
Okay,
we can
let's
vote
vote.
on that. So it'd be just
That.
one motion without the added, the top motion
Uh-huh.
first.
Okay. So the top motion would be the performance skills is listed bullet 1 and 2, and then analyze, evaluate, and critique own photographic work and identify areas for improvement. All in favor?
I
All opposed?
No,
No.
no.
So that's 2 to 3. Now we have board member Reels, which keeps both for self-reflection and identify areas for improvement. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? No.
What was green? Board member Green, what was yours on the second?
Board Member Greens.
Yeah, one second, please.
Okay.
You bet.
Just makes it smushy. These tablets should be.
Nay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know where what page this next one's on?
66.
66, okay.
Okay, now we're on to commercial
Okay.
photography.
So I would move to strike connect and change to explore and analyze. And then you can see the other changes on down. Students will develop ideas in connection to photographers should not be stricken. If you can scroll up just a little bit and unstrike photographers. Students will develop ideas in connection with other photographers who inspire, and that should be a there, or you change it to students, inspire the student's own photographic interest.
Okay,
So I'm looking at this particular class, and I'm assuming people wrote these, right?
The standards.
Right, it wasn't AI. So, and the only reason why I'm saying that is this is someone's work, so I'm actually looking at their creative work, right? So to speak, but in this particular commercial photography strand 1 is capture, strand 2 is edit, strand 3 is output, and strand 4 is connect. And so, not that, I mean, I think explore and analyze is fine, but as I'm looking at someone's work here, I don't think connect is out of line. Does that make sense? It does what it's intended to do from what I can see.
But connecting with people in the past, connecting with
It's saying it right there.
photographer that you don't know, connecting with their work. I guess it depends on how you define connect, but to me, that seems like, this kind of weird, like we're gonna have a relationship with some.
But that is what you're doing.
Person.
Even yours does that. Students will develop ideas in connection to other photographers who inspire the students' own photographic interest. You're making a connection with other photographers.
Develop ideas in connection with other photographers. With other photographers' work. You could just put work, which inspires students' own photographic interest. In fact, that would be better. We just change it to that. Connection to other photographers' work, which inspires.
How about students will explore and analyze?
You need S on inspired.
I'm just putting explore and analyze in there is fine, but I don't have a problem with the connect at the top because you are making a connection with other photographers.
But the connection is to their work, not other photographers.
Well, I think that's,
You're,
I feel like you're reading between the lines a little bit too much, because to me, I mean, this again feels a little bit unnecessary just because I haven't met an artist who hasn't said this photographer's work inspires my work, or this, you know.
right, and
And
that's what
that's
it's saying, it's just being more explicit, which inspires,
Right,
I
but
added.
my student says relatable and relevant feels.
But it explains, connection means, based on my amendment, connection means you connected because something they did inspired you. So that's the connection.
Right, but also sometimes you connect with the photographer themselves. Sometimes it's the person themselves and the interest behind them, not just the item. So I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, would it not be the combination of the two? It would be the work, but it's also the person. It's
So
where they came from, it's what they did.
Photographer's work is, which I think I have down below. By exploring photographic works of other.
All right, so what do we have now? Students will develop ideas in connection to other photographers and their work, which inspires the student's own photographic interest.
Need an apostrophe on students. The student's own photographic interest.
I think it seems like the clarification on this again goes back down to like something that we can test, or we can really look at, not so subjective. So it seems more specific and targeted in what a teacher can grade, or a skill set that they can tangibly look at and say, yes, they mastered this concept. So for me, again, it's more of a quality check. It's a clarifier, and I understand connect. And I like the philosophy of the word connect. I think if we're back to we are doing standards, then connecting is the icing on the cake, but the explore and analyzing is a foundational skill set that we can assess. Anyway, just my thoughts here.
Yeah, so wouldn't relatable and relevant be key to that assessment piece, or knowing that like you didn't just pick someone randomly, you picked someone that was relatable and relevant to the work that you're doing and
that inspired you. It may be somebody that's not relatable at all. Or relevant to your own situation, that is something completely different that you've never thought of that inspired you.
I don't mind the change to the standard. I think connect's fine there. Like I said, it's kind of the work of others, and I don't think it changes the standard itself. So you can move this forward if you want. I would still argue that we need connect. Once again, I don't think it takes away from. I think it's, like I said, I'm trying to honor someone else's work too. And it fits that consistency of their work. And I don't mind the standard the way it's written here, which inspires. I think it strengthens it personally, the bottom part. Can we just break those into two votes then? The strand at the top, the name, and then also the standard itself.
So the,
Strand 4 and
you
then
mean the
standard
top
1.
from stand 4 down to standard 1?
No, just strand 4, either connect or explore and analyze. Can we vote that on that separate from the
Name of
other?
the strand.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All in favor of strand 4, explore and analyze?
Yay.
Yay.
All, opposed?
No.
Nay.
No,
Okay, so it will remain connect. Now, the next part, all in favor, students will develop ideas and connections to other photographers and their work, which inspires the student's own photographic interest. All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Thank you.
and standard one would be to, students will develop ideas by exploring photographic works of other photographers and by analyzing, evaluating, and critiquing the significance of their selected photographer's work. Explore a variety of photographers and photographic styles, analyze, evaluate, critique photographic works with the strikes and additions as you see them on the screen.
So doesn't it, you just said analyzing, evaluating, and critiquing selected photographers' works, and then down below you say analyze, evaluate, critique.
That was already there. The black is what was already there.
Yeah,
That was part of the standard as it came to us.
I'm good with these changes.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the changes that you see on the screen?
I,
Aye.
No.
All right, so that's 4-1.
where are we?
Okay, now these are for commercial photography 1 and 2,
Wait.
but we've already
Get
done
through
this,
strands.
right?
Wait, there's strand 6, 5 had some things on it.
Strand 5 was the collaboration, so that, wouldn't that be the skills that we already talked about
Okay.
earlier?
That's okay.
Yeah, that's already done, right? Okay, so
On
that's,
strand 6. Had some on strand 6. Did that get copied over? Yes. Okay. All right. Sure that's the same. Yes. Okay. And I think this was kind of maybe mixed up a little bit. So I would move to strike development in aesthetic literacy and change it to ability to create aesthetically pleasing work. And then add through the use of compositional elements.
can someone speak to that?
I feel like that might be a
aesthetic
term.
literacy
Aesthetic
is?
It is a term that's used in the workplace in photography. Unfortunately, our specialist who is over this program is out on maternity leave.
Congrats to her.
Yes.
which is aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
And then it would also take out process-based learning or hands-on, and just leave hands-on.
And
Process-based.
what is your
process-based?
opposition? Process-based.
Process-based.
Vague and ambiguous.
Well, it's maybe, what do they use process-based for? What is that terminology?
Well, it would be following a process, step by step, process by process.
Right, which in photography, there is many steps between whether you're doing film or digital, you're taking a lot of processes. So, yeah, I'd be opposed to that amendment.
Amendment number on this one, just so I can correlate it.
57 or 68.
Okay, any further questions or discussion on strand 6?
Hang on just a second. I just want to see it in conjunction here.
With each concept.
Board Member Green?
Process-based learning of each concept listed.
I
What are
would
the concepts?
separate the two changes. So if we could separate the first part from the second change. So I want that part that you've highlighted to be separate, a separate vote from through hands-on process-based learning.
Okay.
Can we do
What are the
that?
concepts listed? I don't see any listed.
It was the
concepts.
ones underneath. It would be the standard 1, standard 2. Those are the concepts.
Yeah, you see there's like all of those different, I mean, a camera, if you ever picked up a fancy camera, there are a lot of steps to that, to just taking a photo and making it look great.
I don't know if that term is defined a specific way, or is it just what it sounds like.
It's what it says it is.
Because a lot of these terms have very specific connotations when you look them up.
The process-based means it going through some kind of a formal.
So there you gotta do the lighting, you gotta do the lens adjustment, you have to do the shutter speed. I mean, there's a gazillion things in that process of taking that photo.
Okay. So what we're gonna vote on?
So we're gonna vote on the first half down through elements. And then we'll vote on the second half.
If I might though, there's a distinct difference between their ability to create the aesthetically pleasing work and then their development in aesthetic literacy. They could demonstrate in a portfolio their ability to identify aesthetic elements and not having to create that element themselves. So it's distinctly different. Does that make sense? But I just wanted to point that out before you voted on it. So I don't know if you've done those portfolios where you're identifying and then you're finding, you're creating, and then you're reflecting on, and then creating it is
Like a subset.
it's a subset of, yeah.
So you're doing the research before
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
But I just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, I was just trying to look it up too.
And I don't know if that's the same notes.
Yeah, it does change that quite a bit, doesn't it? Because in the one you're demonstrating, so, you know, in design, you put together all the techniques that you use in design. And art, you have lots of portfolios that demonstrate your ability to blend colors, you know, tint and so forth. So if that's what we're asking, then that changes it. If we're asking them to be the creators of aesthetically pleasing work, anybody want to clarify that?
Well, the word create was not in the original version, so.
Okay, so
that was their intent.
I don't know if this helps, Emily. I'm just looking at standard one, the way it's written. Students will curate a personal digital portfolio to demonstrate their development in aesthetic literacy through compositional elements. So that speaks to more of a project that they're constructing that around the literary or aesthetic literary elements.
This is what I kind of capture in my.
Where the second, and then you go to part two, which is the part that Natalie has in there, is that work piece, right? Now you're going to, they're going to do it's the displaying of the work. So I think there's two parts. Am I reading that
Well, if you
correctly?
see-
Am I reading that the same as you guys are?
Yes,
But I'm on page
overarching.
68.
Aesthetic, yeah. And curate doesn't mean develop themselves or create themselves.
Well, and
But I don't know what the intent, like, yeah, so.
Hands on.
it could have, I don't know if you've looked at my next amendment, Jenny, or for standard one. I mean, yeah, so help you put that in context.
Students will curate a personal digital portfolio to demonstrate their development in aesthetic literacy through compositional elements. I think, yeah,
I just changed, I took out the development in aesthetic literacy and added through the use or this is for students will curate a personal digital portfolio to demonstrate their use of, we need to strike the on the end there, through their use, or no, yeah, okay, through, something's mixed up there.
What having-
Portfolio to
Ah.
demonstrate their.
Do people always demonstrate, do they always
through
curate
the use-
aesthetically
The use
pleasing
of
works?
compositional elements is what it's supposed to
No,
say,
yeah.
demonstrate
Very famous word.
their ability through the
You collected and
the use of
identified,
compositional
and you
elements.
identify other people's
So I know-
works and put it together.
Yeah, but I just saying personally, people don't always try to create aesthetically pleasing work either.
right, which that is also not, it's really subjective. So like for me, I'm rereading this strand as it was written by the writing committee. Students will construct a digital portfolio to demonstrate their development in aesthetic literacy, which is explained earlier in standards, through the compositional elements, which is also the pieces. The portfolio will serve as an assessment of a student's understanding through hands-on process-based learning of each concept listed.
Could we put in there curate their?
It feels very direct. It feels like you can assess that.
Yeah, oh, so through needs to be moved up to through their use of compositional elements.
Leave it
is
at
how it should
development of
read.
the aesthetic literacy and curate.
Additional to,
On standard one.
so right here. it
Curate.
says
Uh-huh.
Through their own work.
Through their use, so put through before there. No,
So
no.
board member Green, do you still want to separate strand 6 and 2?
Yeah, right there. Through
I-
the use of. And then take it up through below.
Okay, and then I have a motion after that. You're ready.
Board member Green,
This is what I want you to leave the standard,
Okay, wait,
strand, oh,
we're still on strand 6. You just put my amendment for standard 1 over there. It's that's what we're voting on right now.
Let's go ahead. Sorry. Oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah.
go.
strand 6.
okay,
Okay, are we dividing board member Green?
and I want mine to read the same as the way it's listed without
I
the
guess we're
green.
not dividing.
Sorry,
Strand.
yeah,
Okay.
and but
let's-
after aesthetic literacy, add in curate their own work through the use of compositional elements.
You're talking standard 1.
No, I'm talking the portfolio, like I'm talking the strand, like it just says that they're gonna do aesthetic literacy and they're going to curate their own work.
In aesthetic literacy, and right here, students will construct a digital portfolio to demonstrate their development in aesthetic literacy and.
And curate their own work through the compositional elements. Does that make sense, or does that need to be?
Yeah, that's part of what they.
Compositional elements.
Okay,
For use of.
so that's what I would recommend.
So how is that different from what the writing committee did?
If in the one I'm
Scroll a
recommending,
little
it leaves the aesthetic literacy in, because I think it's important to do that.
Right?
But then it just states in the strand that they're gonna compose their own using those, the compositional elements. So it just articulates that you're gonna use those.
Using, if you probably wanted to say using compositional elements then instead of through the.
Oh, yeah, probably, you're right.
So if you change the to using.
Take out, using compositional elements, you want to take out the.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so we need to vote on claims though. She had hers already.
let's head up to,
Do you wanna check with
Clive's
Emily and see if
motion.
she knows where we're at? Are you following us okay?
I am, however, I might be a little bit confused. Do we have 2 motions on the table right now?
She's.
We would vote on Natalie's first and then, and do you want me to?
She just wanted to vote on the first half of mine.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
did.
And then I just want, let me just share what mine is so you're aware of it. Do you wanna go down? It would be leaving in the aesthetic literacy, but it would be including and curate their own work using compositional elements. So it's just adding in the curating their own work using. So, okay.
okay, so the first half of Natalie's, students will construct a digital portfolio to demonstrate their ability to create aesthetically pleasing work through the use of compositional elements. Period. All in favor? All opposed? No.
I can go with a no. Is that a no, Emily?
That was a no.
Okay, now the second half, the portfolio will serve as an assessment of student understanding through hands-on learning of each concept listed.
So it takes out the process-based.
Okay,
The reason I had separated those, I had just wanted to actually unstrike process-based. But I don't know how that.
Well, you can
That-
vote it.
That's what
Just
that
vote
is.
it
so just
down, it would leave it
put it
in.
down, we'll leave it in. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed?
No.
No.
And then I just I want to make a motion to add to strand 6, add the language and curate their own work using compositional elements.
Okay, is everybody clear on what we're voting on? All in favor? Say aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed?
No.
All right.
Green, do you know what yours is?
Oh, I had said yes.
Okay. All right. Then we're on to comprehensive.
One more.
So students will curate a personal digital portfolio to demonstrate their use of compositional elements. The through is still in the wrong place. Oh, maybe not. Portfolio to demonstrate their use. It just take out through. Demonstrate, oh no. Demonstrate their use of composition, yeah. Portfolio to demonstrate their use. There we go. the through.
So this would take
Yeah.
out, this would eliminate the aesthetic literacy component, right?
Yes.
So, okay. All right.
Okay, all in favor?
I.
Yes.
Those opposed?
no,
Okay, strand 7. I think this is my motion. I have a motion to change it from develop awareness of different cultures instead of cultural diversity and equity issues. And that's the only place we use that in all these standards. So I'm just just different cultures. So, and I just don't know why we only using it there. So that's my speak.
You know how I feel about this, but I
you.
also am fine with it, so it's not a hill I'm gonna die on, and I'm fine to vote.
Okay.
Okay,
Everybody-
any other questions?
I don't know if you wanna see what did I have on that?
Oh, I don't know what you have.
I have somebody on there in the second one.
If you scroll down, yeah, you struck out and outline.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, I just struck it. I just took it out. And then, yeah, there's another one.
But isn't it important to have that and outlined in the Skills USA framework?
I didn't
I
strike
took that out.
Oh, that's the
That's
next
on
one,
mine.
okay.
Yeah.
Since it's the Skills USA strand, I just, okay.
Yeah. Okay, we can probably vote on that.
I have a question.
Oh,
Okay,
So we're voting on Earl's, which is different than yours. So are we voting on Earl's down to where the bullet points start? Because then on the bullet points, you've also struck understand and demonstrate the attitude of cooperation. And so I'm just wondering, how much are we?
I think we just vote on
Earl's
Earl's first, and then we can.
yeah, I think
listen.
so too.
Thank you. The other one.
You need some sugar, Randy.
I need something.
We can vote. We do have a bowl here.
Oh, leftover Halloween. That's a great mix. It's.
We'll vote on this and then you can stop.
Yeah, it's okay.
What, so we're doing strand 7, page 69, is that where we are? Or we're on standard 1 or where?
We're right here, develop awareness of different cultures. And then it would be striking cultural diversity and equity issues.
Okay. Develop awareness of different cultures instead of cultural diversity and equality issues. Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
Emily, can you repeat your vote? I just want to make sure. Are we still gonna go to mine?
Yeah.
On this
Yes.
one where we just strike the whole line?
I think you need a repeat on
Or
Reed's
is,
vote
if
as
this
well.
passes, then it's.
I think on that one, it
Emily,
would
can you
probably have
repeat
to
your
pass.
vote?
It was
I just wanna
yes.
make sure it's correct.
Michelle, would that be right?
I'm sorry, I was listening to Emily. Okay,
Actually,
sorry.
it was yes, Andrea.
Okay, thank you.
Natalie has a modification to this very thing we just passed. But if this passes, would we then go back and strike it? That would be her amendment.
My motion was to strike the line, but hers is going first. Is that,
So hers is different, to eliminate and not add something in is a different motion.
okay,
So when you add an insert, the motions are
Okay.
delete, insert, add and delete.
Okay, so then we're
Or
on
substitute.
hers now, so she can vote now to strike it. She can make one
It
strike.
is a different motion.
That's the exact mix I handed out on how.
so we already voted on yours.
Yep.
Did you mark, because I didn't say yea or nay.
Yeah, I don't have yours down.
Wait,
I was trying to.
well, you were uncertain. We put you abstain.
Okay, that's fine.
So yours passed. Okay, so now we're here and, okay.
So we're on to mine.
Yeah.
To,
Natalie, would you like to explain what yours is?
okay, are we?
While I eat sugar.
Should we just go to that strand and do that one right now and then go back to the others?
So what we would do is remove this one and strike, and then, yeah, so it's there now, and then if it's struck, then yours would supersede.
Right, but I have others.
Yeah. Yeah,
Then
yeah, so just go
so-
one by one, yep.
Okay, so my amendment here is to strike out as outlined in, or and outlined in the Skills USA framework level 4. And I understand that this is like all based on Skills USA, which I have an issue with because I went to their framework. And the framework requires students to be instructed in multicultural and sensitivity training. And have huge issues with that because I don't believe that that is inclusive or it just moves in the realm of the woke with sensitivity training. That's not okay. That's about diminishing free speech and
Then you would have to cut this entire strand then, because that's the entire purpose of that.
Isn't
entire
the
strand
I'm
is to
skills
prepare
the
them for
actual,
Skills
what they would
USA.
accomplish when they went to the Skills USA
Train.
train?
And competitions, right?
Competitions and things, right?
Right.
So in
Yeah.
doing that, we're saying don't abide by the, and I understand, you're saying your concern is that with,
we're introducing these things that we've outlawed in Utah by, I mean, there are elements of the Skills USA framework.
are you seeing
that are in
violations in the
conflicts
diversity
and
elements that are being
multicultural and
taught?
sensitivity training?
I can't say enough good things about Skills USA. They always come and do their competitions. at
Has
Salt Lake
anybody
Community
been to
College.
their multicultural and sensitivity training? And do they do that? Do our students have to participate in that?
They do not.
Are they asked to participate or given the option to participate in it?
not.
So we have no CTE students doing the Skills USA multicultural and sensitivity training.
Not to my knowledge, our Utah organization does not conduct any kind of training like that here.
But do they do it through their associated CTE organizations that the kids are being asked to join?
That's what Skills
That's
USA.
Skills USA.
That's the same thing. So.
So
You
here
just
you
not,
have
you just
Skills
don't know
USA.
anything about it, but it doesn't.
Do
mean
you
it's
know
not
what,
happening.
do
Is it
you know
required?
it?
I don't.
Do you know of it happening here?
I just know it's part of their framework is to have that multicultural and sensitivity
And that might be
training.
something they do at Skills USA, Colorado or Oregon or something.
But it's their
not
national
that.
framework.
Not, I mean, just over the next couple days or something.
I can actually have an answer for you just a
Okay.
second.
Okay, so let's,
So I mean, I think it's a valid question. We need to ask if it's
Because-
going into that realm, then we need to be aware of it.
Utah law doesn't allow for that, so. Depending on the content of that training.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on the content, right?
And I can say that Skills USA is one of the coolest things I see CTE students do every year. They all are on campus. at
I'm
Salt
not
Lake
saying
College.
it's
They're
bad.
Doing this.
Yeah, there may be
Well,
elements.
you're
to it
recommending that we
there.
cut the whole thing because of one piece that you don't
I'm
like. So,
saying-
and I'm saying, I would just like to
saying
say that this is really cool
Strike
opportunity.
the
for students.
reference, it's still Skills USA at the
We
top.
have to, okay, that's okay. We
It's
can vote
just,
on it.
to bring up the issue that we need to check into.
Okay, that's,
Okay,
that's fair.
all right, so we can go ahead and vote.
Can we put the two together? Put the two together to strike and strike.
For the second.
Yeah,
bullet
for the
point,
standard.
health Awareness.
Standard, yeah.
cultural diversity.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, which again is another indication for that they're connected and it's infused with that.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why the clarity on the.
So-
I agree.
Strike.
we have a motion to strike and outline in the Skills USA Framework Level 1 to strike, understand and demonstrate the attitude of cooperation, and strike, develop awareness of cultural diversity and equality issues.
So my justification on that, the last three bullet points on that standard are effective they're sufficient for working through problems. And that's what the standard is really about is, yeah. The others aren't needed.
Okay. I think we,
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
No,
Okay.
No.
I'm a yay vote.
All right. My next motion would be on standard 2, understand and demonstrate the ability of being resourceful would be.
do you have a page number?
And this is the same page,
Commercial
69.
one. Okay, 16.
Yeah, and sorry, let's see.
Sorry.
So I would just strike. Understand, demonstrate the ability of. I think the whole. Did I miss something? Understand, demonstrate the ability of resourceful and innovative. Yeah, just strike the whole thing.
Or you have identified strategies for becoming more resourceful and
Oh,
innovative.
there it is. Thank you. Yes, and replace it with identify strategies for becoming more resourceful. So it's more objective.
I like this one better again because if we are building foundational knowledge and we are testing on this, being able to identify is the action of understanding. So for me, it's a good clarifier.
I'm fine with that. Julia, do you have any problems with that?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh. Okay,
Thank you.
my next one, that was what?
421.
And then standard 3, first bullet point, strike complete a self-assessment. And then just leave identify individual learning styles. A self-assessment to me sounds like a survey that requires parental consent, and schools can't do that. They can't require that.
Does a self-assessment have to be a survey?
Well, it's asking
I mean, how do
personal
you
questions,
not
which counts as
self-assess?
the self-assessment falls within the definition of a survey when you look at code. So they can
It's a
reflect.
self-assessment of certain areas that are prohibited,
Yeah.
not a self-assessment of, am I doing math right? So you can have a student self-assess a lot of things if they are not within those prohibited conducts areas. So it doesn't prohibit every single self-assessment where a student looks at their reading paper and corrects their own reading paper. That's a self-assessment.
And I go back to in these art adjacent courses, it's really important to do that self-reflection, self-assessment on areas of improvement.
This is about identifying learning style, individual learning styles.
Yeah, hey, I'm better at shooting families than
But
I'm
in the
better at
process
doing
of
model
identifying,
shoots.
you're already self-assessing. It doesn't need to be stated because it happens when you are identifying your individual learning
But
styles.
complete a self-assessment is an action item.
So if I can offer,
Planning for where you think you might want to work. You want to work on commercial, model shoots for billboards, or you want to work in commercial and shooting family photos, whatever it is.
Yes, Board Member Green.
Well, as far as self-assessments go, this doesn't, I have a seventh grade project here that we did for core class, and I have a self-assessment sheet in front of me where we had to go through and give ourselves a score on how we did on the bibliography, your rough draft, your idea, your revised final, your inquiry cluster sheet, your organization. So for me, it developed, I believe, the students to be able to assess their work. And there's numbers. It's 10 out of 10, it's 30 out of 30, it's 15 out of 15. So I think that there's a place for that self-assessment. And this was, 25 years ago. So if it's that case, then I do feel like it gives a quality check for yourself and say, did I take a good picture? And how did I take a good picture? So I don't know.
So that's a great example. I was just thinking when you were saying that, remember Green, about how yesterday during the National Board Certified, educators were talking about how they have to take videos of themselves and write a reflection and assess, and that is a way that they have gotten better at their practice of teaching. So.
Okay.
Could
We've
we
had-
maybe, could I make an amendment then?
What's your suggestion?
Maybe it's a work assessment or complete if it's not a self-assessment, it's the assessment of your work. And I'm not sure how to put that into an amendment.
So it is, just letting you know, Emily, this is under plan your future career.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is fine, and maybe that's where work assessment would need to come in. I think the focus is on the different learning styles.
Because the other things about identity,
I'm just trying to look at the
career are in these next bullet points. So start with identifying individual learning styles, then go to define future occupations, identify components. Could be learning, maybe
Yeah, I
identify
withdraw my motion,
learning
sorry.
styles and abilities, natural abilities.
And as far as planning for your future career, we filled out that, I forget what the thing is called, but it kind of gives you an idea based off of your answers. You might consider these careers. Here's your top 5. Is that what this is in reference to?
So, so we do a couple of different things.
But it is a self-assessment.
We offer an aptitude assessment. There are interest inventories. There are all kinds of different
say one of those.
Well, I wouldn't want to limit it to just one of those. They're very different. One tells about a student's inherent strengths and abilities. Another one is based on your interest, what you know, what you think you might be interested in, not necessarily what you're good at.
Even the Keys to Success app is a self-assessment.
Would you call it something besides self-assessment that is more specific to one of those pre-made tests that helped you figure yourself out?
In my mind, they're all self-assessments. I'm looking at and determining.
But did you say the teacher creates it?
They could. We're not saying they have to use Keys to Success or U-Science. Those are available and out there.
But if that's what they choose, one of those standardized ones instead of just be anything. It could be anything if it,
Would it be
that we might not know what it is.
Utilize instruments of self-assessment, and it could be any of those things.
Self-assessment instruments.
Yeah.
That would work.
That would, yeah. Because then it's not just left open. Is that what your concern is?
And
too?
also when we have a self-assessment, it does make it seem like there's just one that is supposed to be there.
Yeah, so let's add.
So utilize
self-assess-
instruments of self-assessment, is that what you're thinking? And identify individual learning?
Utilize self-assessment instruments, and
Okay.
identify
Can we do that?
individual learning styles, aptitudes and learning styles.
I have a question, if I may, Chair Booth.
Please.
So in this case, are you really trying to identify learning styles?
Would put aptitudes in their individual.
Are you trying to identify individual learning styles, or I think that
Aptitudes.
that's where that's a mismatch.
This is
It's really
assessing.
about trying to help students figure out where their interests are, right?
It's planning their future career.
Yeah, so
Some
it's
goals-
interest more than a learning style, because there's not a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
grades
only
in
one
interest.
bullet point of 3 bullet points.
Right.
So
But just learning
those
style
ones
in
that you're
general.
talking about are bullet point 2 and bullet point 3.
Okay, learning style in general, there's not a lot of great research behind, so I just am calling that out.
I think you're right. I think it.
Needs instead of styles.
It's just bullet point 1. The next two say
I
define
would say
future
individual
occupations.
aptitudes and interests.
But there's nothing.
Since
there
that's
really
what a
says.
self-assessment instrument
Yeah,
does.
identify the components of an employment portfolio, define future occupations, those are there as well. So this is just
I
the
like that
bullet
better.
in the list of the way that the child
I
will
think that's a lot
evaluate.
better.
That is, yeah, I just am concerned about learning style.
Question?
Assessment instruments done by individual aptitudes.
We've got some comment here from.
So in the college and career awareness course, that's the middle school required course, we have one with regards to like keys to success. And it just says complete an interest assessment to identify personal skill set. I don't know if you want to use that as a kind of.
Interest assessment, that's better. I would take out self and do interest assessment.
And then we also have identify individual interest, skills and aptitudes in career selection.
So skills and aptitudes in career selection.
Career selection.
Since we
which is-
used interests up above, let's take interests out down below and use that verbiage that you said.
And then that's specific to the career versus overall.
So can you read that again?
We just put copy from college and career.
Read it out loud though.
So the first bullet is complete an interest assessment to identify personal skill set. And then the second one is identify individual interests, skills, and aptitudes in career selection. I'm not sure which one you wanted, but sorry. Okay, complete an interest assessment to identify personal skill set. And then we actually have the examples of keys to success in U Science because they are approved resources. So complete an interest assessment to identify personal skill set. And then the second one is identify individual interests, skills, and aptitudes in career selection.
Identify individual interests,
Skills and aptitudes in career selection. Sorry, but
I think I.
right below. Oh, good.
I think that's better.
All right.
So we have like different.
So it's not left so broad. It's, these are the components that we normally use. And they
Yes.
probably do that anyways. It's probably.
So those are two different bullets.
There are two different bullets in CCA. I don't know how you want it in this one.
But this is just for the one bullet point that we're
But now we've
replacing.
made it into two.
Okay.
So this is fine. So,
Utilize an interest assessment and identify personal skill sets. Identify individual interests, skills, and aptitudes in career selection.
so I'm gonna put all of this green, so we know what's new. And then I'm gonna pull over these, seem to read this.
Sorry. I was just like, we already approved something like this, so. Good job.
Well, let's keep it consistent.
Pull all this over, just so you can tell.
Okay, so I think, something to vote on,
Are
So
we
we're
breaking
just
it up?
doing the green part.
the green
here.
part,
Just the green part, okay, so I'll stop it right
okay?
there.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Unanimous. Groundbreaking. Yes.
May I go back to the Skills USA multicultural and sensitivity training? We do not do anything like that here in Utah. That is confirmed and that's
And
the
is it,
answer.
and it won't be done.
No, it's not part of our plan at all.
Okay, so it doesn't need to be explicitly prohibited somewhere? So that CTE teachers know that, or is it?
It wouldn't be done in a CT classroom anyway. It would be a statewide kind of a thing, and that's our contracted employees, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Talia. All right,
Okay, so the next one is the third bullet point, that was original third bullet point, identify the components of an employment portfolio. And the last half says list proficiencies in program competencies. I don't know, maybe somebody can explain to me what that means, because it sounds to me like that would be the teacher's job to list where the student is proficient in program competencies, not a student's job. And this is stuff that these are things the student is supposed to do, correct?
This would be the student understanding their own proficiencies. Again, going back to that self-reflection kind of discussion. What am I good at? Where am I proficient? Where do I need to continue to improve?
So does the teacher not do any of that anymore?
So like when students do a portfolio, like my students do an e-portfolio, which is their basically way of showing off how well they did in the class. They choose their best works and their most proficient areas
And I'm
within the
reading-
class to put in their
I'm
portfolio.
reading this as identify the components of an employment portfolio, taking the proficiencies from the class and listing those into the portfolio. Am I reading that correctly? So they're actually taking, you know what I mean, going back, whatever they did, putting those things that they're good at. I think what it's suggesting is you're actually putting those into the portfolio. I don't see it.
What would I
I'm
show
not
to a
sure.
potential
Yeah.
employer? Yeah.
So, proficiencies need to be, plural. Or just is it?
Proficiency.
Then highlight the proficiencies and program competencies.
So you're just suggesting it needs to be pluralized then, if that's the case.
List individual proficiencies, or mastery of, I would say list
You're not looking at mastery when you're creating an employment portfolio.
mastery of.
What you're looking at is the,
Or
skills you've
list
obtained.
competencies,
So it could-
completed,
Maybe it's list skills accomplished in the program.
yeah.
Although I think that
just-
says the same thing, list proficiency and program competencies. I think it's adequate the way it is personally.
Right, let's just vote then.
Yeah, let's go ahead and,
So the vote then is to remove it.
yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah. Did you catch that?
No,
It would be to strike list proficiency in program competencies. We were.
okay. Everyone that is in favor of striking list proficiency and program competencies.
Can I say one thing? If that's the case, it doesn't really go with that first part of this, of the bullet point. Anyway, they're like two totally different things. Should they be different bullet points? Don't look like
But
they go
should the word
together.
be, maybe there, I think there's some truth in it, making that connection. Identify the components of an employment portfolio and use proficiencies from program competencies or something.
Or include.
Or include.
Hmm.
Wouldn't, right? Because otherwise it's kind of two separate.
Or including, because that would just be one component.
Including proficiency
So it's like
in program
this,
competencies.
including.
I think that does
That
it.
makes a lot more
Leaving it
sense.
in. So, because then you're correlating it.
Okay,
So you could unstrike the
So
rest and just
doing the
add
including.
including the comment, including as the motion.
Just want to draw attention to how I spell this.
Yes, and you did a good job.
okay, so
I like some sugar too.
Yes.
we're now voting on what they said.
Or maybe you've had too much.
I know, maybe either way.
Okay, let's, ready?
We're voting on what you just.
Including, we're just adding
Yes, so
including.
it says identify the components of an employment portfolio, including proficiency in program competencies.
Wow, okay. Everybody that's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I thought I heard 5 voices already. Okay, another groundbreaking moment.
Okay,
Let's go. The next one.
complete, so my next motion was to strike complete a survey and add identify in its place. Identify employment opportunities.
Do you know what the activity is there? So it's there, is there an actual survey that they're completing or is it would be identifying? Do you know, Talia?
I would say the change would be fine.
Okay,
There's nothing prescribed. This is all teacher driven, teacher led.
so I just,
So
yeah,
they'll come
okay,
up with what
okay,
they're
so
gonna-
they identify would be adequate then.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got it. Next.
Okay, next is standard 4. So let's see. understanding, so I'll just read it from under when you have it. Okay, so take out understand and, as that is inherent in demonstrate the ability to manage a project. If you can demonstrate it, it means you understand it. And then that, you want to do those, just that, or do you want to do the next bullet point as
Let's
well?
keep going.
Let's see.
Observe critique.
Sorry, just
Evaluate.
somehow I don't have those others highlighted on my screen, so. Observe and evaluate a meeting. Sorry. This one. Yes, and then identify and explore supervisory and management roles in an organization. So taking out critique, adding evaluate, and then adding identify and, so that there's
And
more
delete
concrete.
critique and understand it.
I
Okay,
don't understand the difference between critique and evaluate. Well, I don't.
Because critique has kind of like the negative connotation, where evaluate opens it up to both the good and the bad.
Okay, I've never seen the difference in critique and evaluate, so let's see.
Can I make a comment to this?
Yeah.
Please.
I served on the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative, and they gave us, a case study that we had to go through. And there was, how many teams? There were 20 teams that came and presented, and we evaluated them by rubrics, a sheet, which also included, the critiques at the bottom. So it was kind of like, it was both parts rolled into one. Evaluate had very specific things that we were supposed to keep at the front of our mind. Very specific characteristics. Did they address the problem? Did they meet the timeline? Did they meet the ethics that were in front? So the evaluation was very specific. The critiques came to the groups live when they came back in, and we offered the feedback then. So I don't know. For clarity purposes, I like evaluate because I feel like it's more tangible. Identify.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead. I think that was all.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I like that feedback, and I would actually like to change it to say, observe, evaluate, and give feedback.
Is that part of evaluating or not necessarily? Talia, do you know?
I would say that.
The feedback part.
Yeah, so observe, evaluate, and give feedback. I don't know how we ended though. Were we giving the feedback to the,
They could just.
and just give feedback?
I don't know
period?
that they need to give feedback though. You're just observing and evaluating a meeting. The feedback part's not necessary on this, right?
Or you could say, what feedback would you give if you were an employer? What feedback would you give based on your observation and evaluation? So maybe they don't actually give it, but they could write what they would give if they were in a position to give feedback.
So the standard is about managing a project. And so by watching a meeting, by observing a meeting, by evaluating or critiquing a meeting, you learn as a person how better to run a meeting, or if it's a great meeting, and how to model that.
So is the feedback necessary, do you think? Would that be a good component?
It
seems like it would be.
I think
Okay,
it would
so
be
we can
good.
add that in.
So would we just put a period after feedback, or how do we? Oh, evaluate.
A meeting, but it doesn't
Feedback.
make sense. We gotta.
I know.
Yeah, so a meeting doesn't fit though.
Observe.
And provide feedback for a
Of
meeting.
a meeting, of meetings.
Of meetings. Or for
That's why
meetings.
observe and critique a meeting sounds great. The original way it's written.
I like the word critique because it is a critique. The critique in the example that I gave previously is that you didn't address the problem. Some of them didn't even address the problem, and that is a
Evaluate.
critique.
And give.
So observe, evaluate, and give feedback and critique a meeting. I like the word critique personally. there.
Observe,
makes-
evaluate, and critique a meeting.
Yeah, so if we got rid of.
I like
this
that.
Here, we have.
And then
Observe,
we
evaluate,
have
critique a meeting.
and give feedback.
So,
Give feedback.
observe,
Provide.
evaluate, and critique a meeting,
Uh-huh,
then give feedback?
yeah,
Or
provide and provide.
I think we just made this class 4 days longer.
Yeah.
Right. I guess we'll get feedback though, right? So what we observed, critique.
Tell us that,
Yeah.
Provide feedback.
Well, the benefit here is that I have a 1-page sheet here that does all 4 of those things.
right,
Awesome. It's just one sheet. Good.
Okay, great. So
wanna do the other underneath?
we're going to delete, understand, and we're going to do whatever we did in that second bullet. I don't remember which is red and which is black, but whatever we just belabored over, and we're going to add in identify and,
Is that the end of that standard?
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
I don't know that it needs identify because you're gonna, in exploring supervisory brief, I'm going back to your argument, Natalie, that in order to explore, you have to identify. So explore supervisory and management roles in an
Well,
organization.
you can explore without, I mean, they could just go on a web page and kind of just be here and there and everywhere, but if the identify helps them zero in and go, okay, what are those different things? And find concrete answers.
Sounds good. All right, everybody that would like to throw their hat
All
in
of
the ring
standard.
on what I just said. Everybody that's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Unanimous. Okay, here we go.
So strand 7, we've kind of already voted on this, right? Because we voted on as it relates to the Skills USA framework. So that one's done. So we would be, now I am just telling you, I am gonna get lunch today. I'm just letting all you know. So
Yeah.
we may want to find where we're gonna stop because it's almost a quarter after.
Well, how much more do we have on commercial photography?
We have quite a bit.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a lot.
So
You may want- yeah.
I would recommend we find a time in a couple weeks to go through some more.
Yeah.
And I'll make a recommendation that we make a recommendation to leadership to do it.
Do you want to first approve commercial photography 2?
Is it done?
Yes, it's done. Right?
I have,
Yes.
strand 4 was I had,
Oh, wait, you have
There's
one
still
more,
one
there's one
more.
more. So if you finish this last one.
Commercial photography one's done though.
One is
Commercial,
done.
yeah.
So
yeah,
let's make a
yeah.
motion for that. Okay, is that accurate, Natalie?
Yeah.
That's what I have. Okay, I make a motion that we
Well, we
approve.
still have a few minutes. We're supposed to go till 12:30.
We are,
yeah.
That's what it said. 9:30 to 12:30.
okay, just kidding.
Well, we can,
I
that's one.
Is someone ordering me lunch? That's all I want to know. I don't want to not. do
So
lunch.
1
All right,
o'clock.
Never mind, I'm
Meeting
fine.
at 1.
It is at 1.
The next meeting's at 1.
So I have.
I'm fine.
Keep going.
I also
So
have.
let's keep going.
Are you passing?
Hey, there's
one?
some really good gummies right there.
Oh my gosh.
I got the whole mixed nut thing, unsalted.
Okay, let's just do it.
Keep going.
Okay, here we go.
Let's do it. I thought we were
Did
done
we
at
finish
12.
that? Did we vote? I can't remember.
We need to vote on
On what we
passing
just
through
did, okay.
1.
Should we just, well, let's go through to see if we can get through 2 and then we'll try to do them both together.
Okay.
Is that sound good, Andrea?
Okay, so my motion would be to strike as it relates to the workplace and outline
We already,
Done, so it's this one.
this one. Okay,
Okay, so now standard 1.
all right. So strike understand and so it would just, you would strike and as well. Next to understand.
Mhm.
So it would read demonstrate reliability. And then identify, so can somebody strike and on that first bullet point? Okay, so demonstrate reliability, Identify and practice individual time management skills. Sorry.
Okay,
Let's see. Sorry, the jumping of the screen. I identify and practice individual time management skills. Demonstrate honesty and ethical behavior in the workplace and school, and then strike is that the last two bullets? Does it go on to the next page? Okay, so there you go. And then, so we're striking, demonstrate awareness of government and demonstrate awareness of professional organizations and trade unions. And I don't know where my notes went on that.
Board Member Klein, there's 7 different standards in this area. Do we want to go through all 7 of them, or did you want to go one by one?
We can just do one by one. There's a lot just.
okay, so number 1, standard number 1. Everyone that's in favor, say aye.
Hang on. I don't know where we're, I just have to put it in context.
This is one.
It's
Strand 7.
everything that she
I
just
know.
outlined in that.
Oh, is it strand 7?
7,
Standard 1.
commercial photography.
Page 79.
Standard.
Okay.
79. Thank you.
Gosh, I wonder.
Okay, so we missed strand 4. I don't know, I guess my amendments for strand 4 didn't get copied over.
It passed unanimously, standard 4 above.
It
Yeah, it
passed
is right above.
unanimously.
That was the critique and evaluate one.
Strand 4 I show is connect on page 76. It's another connect one. So I don't see that on here. Can we do that first?
We don't have
I don't
it.
see it on.
So,
So commercial 1 4. This is on commercial photography 1 or 2. Commercial photography 2.
This one right here.
Strand 4, page
It's
76.
down here with the understand and demonstrate workplace habits, that one.
Explore and analyze.
No, it's about photographers.
So I think for that one, we did it for commercial photography 1, and it also says commercial photography 2.
They got combined.
Yeah, so we're okay.
Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah,
covered.
that one.
And then that one. Just see that. And so we're on strand 7. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right,
Want to strike, understand, determine.
did we do the
Adding,
actual
identify, and
strands?
practice.
yeah.
Adding, demonstrate honesty and ethical
We did that one
behavior.
about- Okay.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Workplace and school.
It's still
Strike
in there.
those
So-
2 about government and professional organizations and trade unions. And keep the other 2 right after that,
Um,
okay?
So you're down on I'm looking at the line of the actual strand 7, not the standard.
Okay.
So I had strike career readiness as it relates to the workplace. And I guess we can leave in the Skills USA framework since we resolved that. Do you see where?
So you want this one, we're gonna pull it over really quick.
In the heading.
Yes, the heading of strand 7.
But we need that Skills USA piece.
Well, I
Yeah,
said we
that's-
could leave that.
Yeah,
So,
let's take a seat.
based on our last discussion, but I would still take out career readiness skills and replace it with workplace skills.
Isn't career readiness like the common language that they use when talking about Skills USA and
Is it
CTE?
different than workplace skills?
Career readiness and so we usually use college and career readiness. Career readiness refers to their ability to go into workplace ready to work.
I think it's pretty important.
Workplace readiness.
Workplace doesn't work as well, and that's not the common language that they use in CTE.
Let's go to the standards then.
So delete this one right here.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so if we go, again, demonstrate reliability, demonstrating implies understanding, so we don't need understand and then the next line would be, sorry, I've got
Identify and
highlights
practice.
on top of highlights, here we go. No, sorry, I'm trying to click on just the right spot. I've got too many next to each other. I can't see my notes.
So I have
Anyway.
identify and practice individual time management skills.
Yes, so that's fine.
Next one.
And then take out
Read it
explore
or what's ethical.
what's ethical, and can we scroll a little bit. It says, instead demonstrate
does that
honesty
mean?
and ethical behavior in workplace and school, and then take away those last two bullets because they're very
Actually, not the last
ambiguous.
two, take away those two and then keep the last two of research.
You could say identify government regulations or identify professional organizations and trade unions.
I do agree. To
associated with it.
demonstrate awareness of government, what does that
sounds so
mean?
weird.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then also demonstrate awareness of professional, it could be identify professional organizations and trade unions.
Yeah.
Right,
So
in
we
this
want to
area.
amend that and then vote on it. It was just.
So
weird
what
the
is
way
the
it was.
government piece in there for? What, does anybody know? Why would we?
I would suggest that you change it.
Yeah, is there some element of government we want to be aware of in this section? Does that make
Be
sense?
specific?
Yeah.
Can it just be taken out then?
I like identify. I think it's important that students do understand about professional organizations.
Yeah.
And
It's,
unions, if they leave the state of Utah, unions are an important thing for them to understand. And
well,
not
this is
be-
in photography, so there are those connections there,
Yeah.
right?
Commercial
It's just the government piece. Do we have any reason why that's there? Is it
You can take it out.
policies, laws, or? Okay, so we can take that out.
Yeah, that looks good.
Oh, hold on, we have a weigh-in and it's good to take out. Don't need it.
Phone a friend.
So that is standard one. Want to vote on standard one?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so are we ready to vote? I think those are great changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Oh,
Thank you. One nay vote from board member Sarah Reel. And
If you say my name fast, it's cereal.
Sarah Reel. Okay, that's good. Okay, the next
So
one.
Standard 2. We would take out understand and demonstrate responsiveness because that just doesn't, anyway. And then define, I kind of merged some of the others. So it would read, define the customer and sorry, not applicable. I don't even see not applicable. Oh, that's my note, it's not applicable. Okay, the recognized benefits of doing community service projects. And then demonstrate professionalism, taking out social etiquette and adding professionalism and identify customer expectations and responsiveness.
why
So
don't,
that's
you don't
where-
want to you don't want to acknowledge or recognize anything related to community service? Because often
We don't want to do
photographers
Or social etiquette.
do things of service to other, meaning that they
can do that without it. I mean, that's a strange standard to recognize.
well, then how about if it were something like service, what kind of service do photographers provide to their community?
Identify community service opportunities for photographers.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were striking the whole thing.
So identify.
I did strike that whole thing,
Oh,
but I'm fine adding that in it. It's
yeah, something
done
like
that
that.
way.
Community
That makes
service
sense.
Opportunities,
opportunities for photographers.
so that it doesn't become a requirement of the course that they do community service. Since it's not community,
Not a standard.
it's not voluntary if they're told that they have to, if it's required. Voluntary is
Yeah,
different from voluntold.
I mean, just so I'm saying it aloud, I don't see anything wrong with community service, social etiquette, helping students understand and discover techniques for self-motivation. So I'm not in favor of any of these. I think those are all great things that if the teacher happens to get to it by the time they get to this part of the course.
Professional
Fantastic.
etiquette, are you,
Demonstrate professionalism. It includes and then the responsiveness up by itself seems kind of like a dangling standard.
professionalism,
You attach it to customer
Do we under-
expectations, that's different.
does that make direct ties to the etiquette? You feel like? anyone in here. I'm not sure it does to me. That's why I'm asking. Just because someone's professional does not necessarily mean they have the professional etiquette that we're.
Sort of like social cues.
Sure
If
it
you're
is.
taking pictures of
Yeah.
someone, don't go up and touch their hair and move it without asking them. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know, that's what I.
social cues are good. It's part of professionalism.
Yes.
For sure.
It is.
Professionalism
But I don't
covers
think that
all
it-
of that.
I mean, there is some social etiquette
There's-
to also be taught. Again, this is one bullet point in the entire course. And I think social etiquette does it. I'm not here to wordsmith the writing committee
I think
completely.
social etiquette does it for me in this course especially. That's why I'm trying to. Okay.
Okay.
So what are we voting on? You've listed over there?
Standard.
Right.
If you can unhighlight it, it's easier to read.
Demonstrate.
So what remains is define the customer, identify community service opportunities for photographers, demonstrate professionalism, identify customer expectations and responsiveness.
And you could, on that last one, you could say, and demonstrate responsiveness, but it needs to be tied to something. So responsive to the customer, identify their expectations and demonstrate
Identify
responsiveness to it. So it's not just a
That's good.
dangling.
All righty.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
No.
Thank you.
we
Got it?
Green.
didn't get number three.
Green, did you catch any of that?
Yeah, I said it's okay.
Okay, that was a quick moving train there. So,
Okay, so down on standard 3. Again, this is kind of tricky. Just I changed understand. I took out understand and included. Let's see. Oh, here we are.
So
Sorry.
resiliency and determination are very different. If I'm determined to go do something, it's different than if I face a challenge that is difficult and I get back up and I try again. So I don't know,
Again, resiliency is something that you learn. You can't be taught it, but you can learn it through just experience, life experience. And so it can be mentioned, but to demonstrate, I mean, if you're gonna demonstrate, how do you demonstrate resiliency in a class?
how do you
unless they-
demonstrate determination?
Well, that you keep at it, but resiliency,
Yeah, I don't.
again, it's kind of a funny one because it's kind of just dangling there by itself.
We could add both
If
of them.
you added it to something more concrete, it would make more sense. But I took out discover self-motivation techniques, instead establish short-term goals.
Is it job shadowing? You would be doing a job shadowing activity, or is the shadowing activity in and of itself? Is it on a job? I'm just making sure.
Tell me where you're looking.
Sorry.
Farther down. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, so you moved on to standard 4.
yes.
Standard
You want
three.
to finish standard 3?
Yeah,
Yes.
33. So sorry, I skipped down on my.
So
page.
is that select characters? There's a bullet point that's off on the side. It needs to come down, and it's that way in the document itself
It's just
too.
Every second.
So maybe that can be get fixed.
Yes.
Sorry. What is select characters of a positive image? What is that mean?
Characteristics is what it should be.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm like,
Yeah.
characters of a positive image. Could it just say select positive characteristics to emulate? Or to,
Was that supposed to be two different ones? Is that why?
yes, select is supposed to be down, it's supposed to be its own bullet point, but it. You say, where is it? What is the standard here? Understand importance of career readiness skills. So identify positive characteristics or character traits would be better. Positive character traits.
Timer.
Yeah, that
It is 12:28.
makes more sense. Okay, and then establish and establish and complete short-term goals. We add complete in there. And we could actually take and combine bullet point 1 and 2 and say demonstrate determination in establishing and completing short-term goals. And it's not dangling by itself. Establishing and completing short-term goals. And down on it, identify positive character traits. And work to, maybe something, cultivate, identify and cultivate positive character traits.
So you're doing it yourself too.
Okay, so our motion is demonstrate determination in establishing and completing short-term goals. And second bullet point, identify and cultivate positive character traits.
Identify and cultivate positive character traits.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Thank you.
Standard 4. Again,
How many more standards are there on this one?
2 more, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 total.
do you want to stop here since it's
I think we
12:30?
better stop.
Yeah.
Stop on standard 4. Okay.
Okay.
We need to, so we move 1 forward then, photography 1?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we move photography, commercial photography 1 forward to the full board for a vote. That's not right.
Approval.
Good idea. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much.